Chapter 65. The mountain man held a bamboo blade in his hand. This was the most commonly used weapon of the mountain man. The moment the two sides approached each other, the mountain man slashed down with his blade. Zi Chen's body went from moving to still. Then he dodged to the side, causing the blade to miss. The next moment, the bamboo blade in Zi Chen's hand moved. Like a bolt of lightning, it slashed across the mountain man's neck. He did not have any abilities, but the bamboo blade was sharp enough to instantly cut open the mountain man's throat. After the slash, Zi Chen had already arrived behind the mountain man. Meanwhile, the Grange hillman who had missed its attack was standing there motionlessly with its hand on its neck. Blood kept flowing out of the wound. The mountain man died in one move. The exclamations from behind rose and fell again. No one had expected that Zi Chen, who had yet to awaken his abilities, would have such terrifying combat strength. That seemingly simple action was not easy to accomplish at all. That was because the mountain man was very fast, and the strength of that slash was also extremely strong. It was not something that ordinary people could dodge. If it was so easy, they would not have suffered such a heavy loss last time. Although Zi Chen had yet to awaken his abilities, his body's reaction had long caught up to those with abilities. It even far surpassed them. The second mountain man's attack arrived. It went straight for Zi Chen. Zi Chen tilted his body and dodged the other party's attack again. Then the bamboo blade in his hand struck out for the second time. It was still in a critical position. Uft! Its neck was cut open. The wound was very deep, but its head did not fall off. This was because Zi Chen had yet to awaken his abilities, so the strength of this strike was not enough. If he had awakened his abilities, this strike would have beheaded it. Similarly, if it were not for the sharpness of the bamboo blade, Zi Chen would not have been able to kill a mountain man so easily. Beside him, Xing Chen attacked. The spear-like weapon in his hand directly pierced into the mountain man's chest. On the other side, the hurricane around Black Wind sliced a Grig hillman apart. Netherworld had just devoured the soul of a mountain man. They had obtained great benefits from Mr. Tree and improved very quickly. Now was the time to verify the results. On a tree not far away, a human face appeared. It was Tree. He was also watching from afar. This was also the first time he had seen Zi Chen's friends display their true strength. However, he was still hiding something. At the very least, Wang Xian whom he thought highly of, had yet to use the sword of opportunity. In his entire life, he had only condensed a sword like that once. Only such an outstanding person would have such extraordinary friends. Tree looked at Zi Chen again, but he still couldn't believe that Zi Chen hadn't awakened his powers yet. Although his combat power was very strong without awakened abilities in this world, he would still be limited. Why was it like this? The tree could not understand. Shen Hong's face gradually turned gloomy. The methods that Zi Chen and his group had displayed were beyond his expectations. If it weren't for the Gu Shan people blocking them, he would have lost many of his subordinates. Moreover, in the end, both sides would definitely suffer. Therefore, Shen Hong was very emotional. Fortunately, he had taken precautions in advance and discussed some details with Gu Song. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Yi Qian looked at the battle with worry in her eyes. Since this was a trap, it wouldn't be so easy to break out of it. With these Gu Shan people dead, there might be more to come. And Mo Jingtian had also come. Looking at the battle from afar, his expression was not good. On one hand, it was because of Zi Chen. On the other hand, it was because of Shen Hong. In fact, he was feeling very conflicted. He hoped that Zi Chen would win and not let Shen Hong have an easy time. However, he also hoped that Zi Chen would die here. There were close to 30 Gushan people. For Zi Chen and his group of 13, it was just a matter of one person killing 3 of them. Therefore, after dividing up the work, the number of Gushan people decreased sharply. Neil, who was supposed to attack, was still watching from afar. He had no intention of joining in. Just as these 30 people were about to die, he waved his hand again. The Gushan people in the distance quickly came over. This time, there were close to 100 of them. With their appearance, the crowd behind was in an uproar. However, Shenhong frowned. It shouldn't be like this. Where was the promised Yanjing? Chang Ho looked at Rat beside him and asked, "Why don't you think that Yanjing has made his move?" There were many rats here. Moreover, the one in front of him was the Rat King. It wasn't difficult to find clues about Ziqin. Chang Ho, who had escaped the pursuit previously, had turned back and stayed in the rat hole. He had only appeared today. Once he reaches the Yanjing, he will be different from ordinary Gushan people. That guy hasn't made his move yet. It should be for a greater contribution. Rat said, "Think about it. How many Gushan people has Ziqin killed so far? If he kills these Gushan people, it will be over 100. If the Yanjing kills a powerful and threatening human, wouldn't that be a great contribution?" Chang Ho smiled and said, "That's true. When he makes his move, you will help me, right?" Rat's face immediately turned bitter. There was a hint of panic in his eyes. "My lord, please spare my life. How would we dare to attack the Gushan people unless we want to be exterminated? You rats are not good at other things. Breeding and digging holes are your skills. Who can exterminate you?" Chang Ho laughed sarcastically. "My lord, don't say that. The reason we exist is because of the kindness of King Giduin, not because we are powerful." Chang Ho seemed to want to say something. Suddenly, his face changed and looked somewhere. A fox appeared there. Rat also noticed the situation there. His face suddenly changed. "It's Lord Gusong. It's over. It's completely over. It seems that Zichen will definitely die." After saying that, Rat turned around and was about to run away. However, he was caught by Chang Ho. "Where are you going?" "My lord, hurry up and run. If you don't run now, it will be too late." Rat shouted, "That's Gusong, the most powerful existence under King Giduin. Since he came personally, everything is settled. Watch." Chang Ho grabbed Rat and did not let go. His eyes were looking forward. This was the first time he saw Zichen's friends. They did not disappoint him. Each of them was extremely powerful. Su Mengyao walked forward when she was faced with so many Mountain Gu people. The moment those Mountain Gu people approached her, she glanced at them. All the Gushan people were frozen in place, as if they were frozen in place. Then, more than a dozen Gushan people fell down. In just a glance, more than a dozen died. Then Zichen and the others rushed forward and began to harvest the lives of the Gushan people, like harvesting crops. Neil saw this scene from afar. There was a hint of surprise on his face. He then smiled and said, "This is interesting." Chapter 46:66. Neil was actually willing to wait a little longer. The strength of these people had exceeded his expectations. Hence, the later he killed them, the greater his contribution would be. However, since Gusong was here, he had no choice but to appear. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to return. In order to appear more casual, Neil appeared and shouted loudly. His voice was heard before he appeared. When Gusong saw this, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly with disdain. It was fine for the other party to play some tricks, but he had to do it well. Otherwise, punishment would be unavoidable. He didn't care about the death of some ordinary green hills. However, he couldn't afford to fail this mission. Gusong stood in the distance and watched quietly. As expected, Neil continued to play tricks and deliberately slowed down. "Stop!" he shouted loudly. However, under such circumstances, Zichen obviously wouldn't stop. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "Let's end this quickly." Shin Hong heaved a sigh of relief. The Yen state had finally appeared. This battle should be settled. He was actually very curious about the power of the Yen state. Now was the time to take a look. Because of his great contribution today, he would soon reach the Yen state. Gu Wei's expression didn't change much. However, deep in his eyes, there was a tinge of worry. He didn't know if Zi-Chen could survive this. Yi Qian had been worried about everyone since the beginning. After seeing the Yen state, she blamed herself. She was still too weak and had implicated everyone. Damn it! Mo Zhengtian cursed under his breath. This was going to be troublesome. A huge benefit had been taken by Shen Hong alone. Moe frowned. He couldn't solve this situation. The Yen state was approaching. Zi-Chen and the rest didn't stop. They were still killing the Green Hills, even though the Yen state had shouted for them to stop twice. Neil was actually very satisfied. This was the way to go. He didn't hold back. There was still some time before he reached the Yen state. If he could kill all the remaining Green Hills in this period of time, it would be best. As he moved forward, he realized that these people were quite cooperative. However, no matter how much Zi-Chen and the others killed, it was impossible for them to kill all of the Gragshans. Therefore, when Neil approached, he shouted, "All of you back off! You know that you can't win, yet you still want to die? Are you stupid?" In front of absolute power, the GRG hillmen had the strictest hierarchy. Therefore, after hearing Neil's words, the GRG hillmen immediately retreated. Neil walked forward and glanced at the corpses on the ground. Feeling satisfied, he said coldly, "How dare you? Didn't you hear me tell you to stop?" Zi-Chen glanced at Neil before glancing to the sides and making brief eye contact with Su Mingyao and the others. The 13 people in front of him were all holding bamboo weapons, ready to fight. "You humans are not weak," Neil said indifferently, "but you dared to kill my people. You're simply courting death." Zi-Chen could not understand the other party. Instead of taking revenge, what was he talking about? Was he purposely giving him time to breathe? At the same time, Shen Hong was also a little anxious. What was going on with this Yen realm? However, since I'm here personally today, I'll give you a chance to choose. Neil changed the topic. "Give me all your female companions. Then you all will submit to me and serve me from now on. Don't worry, I'll give you all the benefits." Shen Hong was stunned when he heard this. This was different from the plan. Was he trying to steal his credit? Mother asterisk her, isn't this too shameless? Gusong, who was behind, was also dissatisfied. How dare he make such a decision? Was he courting death? However, if he could really recruit them, it would not be a bad idea. Make a decision quickly or die. Neil's eyes turned cold. He still had to do business. Zi-Chen glanced at Su Mingyao before running forward. He gripped the bamboo blade in his hand tightly, his eyes filled with cold, killing intent. Xing Chen, Haifeng, Yuming, and the others also moved at this time. There was no verbal communication. Everything was done by tacit understanding. "You're all courting death." Neil was furious. These ant-like fellows dared to take the initiative to attack. At this time, a small blue and white flower flew toward him. In his anger, he waved his hand and slapped it. With a pop, the little pollen was crushed, and countless tiny petals scattered in the air. Neil laughed sarcastically. Insignificant skill. At this time, he realized that there was nothing in his field of vision. Where were they? Just as he was in a daze, he felt a sudden pain in his chest. A wooden spear had pierced his chest. His body was strong, and the spear did not penetrate too deeply. Just as he was still unable to understand what was going on, a sense of danger attacked him again. Those who had disappeared previously had all appeared. At the same time, several weapons appeared in his field of vision. They were all bamboo weapons. This made him extremely angry. A powerful aura erupted, and a huge and real light formation appeared under his feet. It was like a hurricane had risen out of thin air. Within the range of the light formation, powerful forces surged. The nearby weapons all changed directions, and those who were close to him were all sent flying. This was the true strength of the Yen state. With just a thought, he could force the formation state to retreat. Looking at those who were sent flying, Neil was ready to start a massacre. Everyone in the distance could feel the power of the Yen state. They were stunned. How was Zichen going to dodge such a situation? Wang Xian, who had not advanced, immediately moved forward when everyone was sent flying. A ray of light appeared in her palm. A sharp sword intent emerged, and a small gust of wind blew in the surroundings. Swoosh! Poof! The light and sound appeared at the same time. The sharp sword intent surged in the surroundings, bringing along countless withered grass. The ray of light that appeared in Wang Xian's palm penetrated Niel's body, drew an arc in front of him, and returned to Wang Xian's hand. It was a sword of light. The tree in the distance was extremely excited. Feeling the pain, Niel immediately retreated. At this moment, the anger on his face had already turned into horror. How could a mere formation state injure him? At this moment, Zhang Haoqian appeared behind him. The bamboo blade in his hand pierced through the spot where Wang Xian had pierced and then slashed. Boom! The careless Niel was enraged again. With a powerful vibration, Zhang Haoqian was sent flying. But immediately after, the monk's blade landed on the same spot again. This was the result of Zichen's glance. They had been together for a long time, and there was no need for more words. Their gazes were a sign of cooperation, and they had a tacit understanding. Niel was at a disadvantage because of his carelessness. Boundless anger emerged from his heart. A powerful aura began to surge, containing boundless killing intent. But at this moment, Niel's expression suddenly changed. His entire face changed, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. The blood was black. Chapter 46-67. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Niel felt his body weakening. He had a bad feeling. He knew that he was poisoned, but when did this poison appear? Zhang Haoqian's attack contained the poison ability of the Insect King. As his cultivation level increased, this poison ability naturally became more terrifying. Wang Xian attacked first to break through his defense. Zhang Haoqian's subsequent attack was to better inject the poison into Niel's body. The monk's final attack was the icing on the cake. In this battle, the most important people were Su Mengyao, Wang Xian, and Zhang Haoqian. You guys are courting death. Niel, who felt himself weakening, had a murderous look in his eyes. The aura of the Yen realm was even more oppressive. He pressed forward, and Zichen signaled for everyone to back off. After all, the other party was a Yen realm cultivator. There was dissatisfaction in Gusong's eyes. This idiot had actually been tricked. Perhaps there would be a change in the situation. At the next moment, Gusong was stunned. This was because that idiot didn't continue to attack. Instead, he turned and ran. Gusong wanted to curse. This bastard was really unreliable. Zichen and the rest were also stunned. They thought that the other party still had some powerful moves. They didn't expect that it was just a bluff. His motive was to turn and run. However, the other party just moved a few dozen feet before he fell. He was dead. This powerful Yen realm cultivator had just appeared. He didn't even have the chance to display his strongest power, but he was killed just like that. The spectators outside the field were all dumbfounded. This change was too fast. The Yen realm cultivator just appeared and released his aura once before he was killed. The attacks of the others were so dazzling that they almost didn't see it clearly. They didn't know why the Yen realm cultivator fell for it. With the Yen realm cultivator dead, Zichen heaved a sigh of relief. The biggest enemy was eliminated, but the problem was not yet solved. Zichen turned around and looked at Shenhong. I can give you a way to die. Shenhong snorted and said, If you dare to kill me, I'll kill you first. He turned around and realized that Yi Qian was gone. He was stunned. The battle just now was so intense that everyone was a little distracted. They didn't expect Yi Qian to run away. No, with his people watching, Yi Qian couldn't have run. Bang! Bang! The two people closest to Yi Qian fell to the ground dead. Only then did the other subordinates react. For a moment, they were all stunned. The The sound of footsteps rang out at that moment. When Shin Hong turned around again, he saw Yao Wei bringing Yi Qian and walking towards Zichen. Yang Wei you? Shin Hong looked at Yang Wei coldly. Yang Wei turned around and smiled. He said apologetically, I'm sorry. To me, profit is more important. In the face of absolute profit, hatred can be put aside. Your plan has failed, and I'm afraid it will be very troublesome to follow you. Now that I'm taking Yi Qian to Zichen, do you think I'm abandoning the dark for the light? Good. Very good. Shen Hong nodded, his tone cold. As expected of the cunning spirit race, your mind changes really quickly. I'll take that as a compliment, but you're too reserved. Can't you say more nice things? For example, I know how to adapt to circumstances. Yang Wei smiled faintly, then turned to Zichen and said, I, Yang Wei, am ashamed of Shin Hong's actions. I'm willing to abandon the dark for the light and join Zichen's team. I wonder if that's possible. Yang Wei, you despicable person. This idea came from you. Shin Hong said angrily. Do you think Zichen will want you? Stop dreaming. He'll chop off your head immediately. Yang Wei said unhappily. Shin Hong, you're not honest. This was obviously your idea. Shin Hong laughed out loud. You idiot. Yi Qian is there. She's still alive. How could she not know whose idea it was? Yi Qian said that's right. It was Yang Wei's idea. Ha! Shen Hong was even more proud. Yang Wei, I'll see how you die now. The others were stunned. Was there going to be an internal conflict? However, that guy called Yang Wei was really shameless. He came up with such a bad idea, and now he wanted to join Zichen. He was really asking for death. In everyone's opinion, Zichen would definitely kill the other party immediately. Who knew that Zichen would say, in our lives, we will always make many mistakes inadvertently. If we were to kill all of them, would there be anyone left in the world? Hence, I think that we should always give others a chance to correct their mistakes. As the saying goes, who doesn't make mistakes in life? To be able to correct one's mistakes is a great kindness. Just as everyone was stunned, Zichen said to Yang Wei, welcome to the team. Everyone was stunned. What kind of trick was this? Yang Wei immediately walked forward, completely unprepared. Some people thought that Zichen was stalling because Yi Qian was still in Yang Wei's hands. However, as long as Yi Qian was safe, it would be Yang Wei's time to die. However, when Yang Wei joined the team and Yi Qian hugged the other female companions, Zichen still did not make a move. Could it be that he really believed that Yang Wei could correct his mistakes? Mo Jingtian said, this guy is raising a tiger to invite calamity. Mo did not say anything. He felt that something was wrong, but he did not know what the problem was. He knew Zichen very well. He also knew that Zichen's way of doing things was different from normal people. Sometimes he would not kill those who deserved to die. However, that kind of person definitely did not include people like Yang Wei. Zichen did not reminisce with Yang Wei. The others also pretended that they did not know Yang Wei. Yang Wei stood at the side and took the initiative to say, are we going to kill them now? He looked at Shen Hong. This made the other party even angrier. He could not wait to chop Yang Wei into pieces. Yes, they deserve to die. Zichen's eyes turned cold. The killing intent in his eyes was boundless. This made the others even more confused. Why did he not kill Yang Wei, the person who started all this? Why did he have such a strong killing intent toward Shen Hong? Zichen walked forward. When he moved, the others moved as well. You idiot. You are really hopeless. Shen Hong looked at Zichen and said coldly, Yang Wei is waiting for both of us to be injured. Then he will kill you. Zichen said, both of us will be injured? You overestimate yourself. At this moment, Zichen really wanted to kill Shen Hong. Such a person was too big a threat. Moreover, Yang Wei was here this time. Yi Qian did not suffer any injuries. Next time, there might not be such an opportunity. Perhaps this battle would not be easy. However, eliminating all future troubles was more important than anything else. At this moment, another person suddenly appeared in the distance. It was another Gushan person. The moment he appeared, he released the aura of the Yen state. Chapter 46-68. After this, Yen Jing appeared. He only glanced at Neil's corpse. Trash will always be trash. His gaze swept across the other corpses, and he said indifferently, "What kind of ability can a person who is constantly scheming for contribution points have? You guys are really good to be able to tolerate him until now." A fox stood behind Yen Jing and spoke in human language. "He's Yen Jing after all. We have to make the best use of him, right?" "Lord Gusong," Shen Hong shouted from afar. At that moment, he had lost all hope and thought that his plan had failed. He didn't expect that the fox would come personally. Gusong waved at Shen Hong. Of course, that was if he could call it a hand. This was a greeting and made Shen Hong feel more at ease. What use can this trash be? He can't even handle a bunch of little guys, Yen Jing said disdainfully. He even lost his life. How stupid. Gusong said, "You can't say that. At least you saw their methods. The next battle should be easier." Yen Jing raised a finger. "I only need one move to deal with them." This confidence and strength moved Ziqin and the others. Gusong nodded and said, "Good. According to our previous agreement, kill the men and leave the women alive." Ziqin stepped forward subconsciously. The men in the team all stepped forward, including Yanwei. At this moment, their eyes were filled with determination and strong fighting spirit. Even if they knew that they couldn't avoid this, they had to stand and die. Gusong retreated. He wouldn't attack. Yen Jing looked at everyone, and his expression turned cold. "I won't be merciful, so all of you can die." As he finished speaking, he moved. Suddenly, a shrill scream rang out. There was a ray of light in the sky. "Help! No. Report, I want to report." The voice screamed as it fell from the sky and smashed into the ground with a loud bang. There was a deep hole in the ground. A mouse stood up shakily. "I want to report. Lord, I want to report." The mouse said in a daze. Yen Jing's expression changed slightly. He had stopped attacking. Unexpectedly, it was also a speech realm. The others were also shocked. This small mouse looked harmless to humans and animals, but it was in the realm of speech. Yen Jing's eyes turned cold. "What are you doing?" "My lord, I report, I report." Mouse pointed to the side and said that what he was trying to say was that there was someone there. A calm voice sounded as a man walked forward. Hearing this voice, Ziqin's expression changed. After turning his head, he saw that familiar figure. For some reason, after seeing Cheng Ho, Ziqin felt a sense of security. Tyrant and the others didn't know Cheng Ho, so they were curious about his intentions. "Who are you?" Yen Jing asked. He felt a sense of pressure when he saw this human. In the distance, Gusong said nothing, only looking at Cheng Ho. "I say, you're at the speech realm, aren't you? You're actually showing off in front of a group of kids. I think you're not much stronger than that trash from before." Cheng Ho said in disdain, "I really don't know where your confidence comes from." Mouse waved his hand desperately, indicating that Cheng Ho should be more polite. "You scoundrel, you have the power of a speech realm, but you don't have the guts." Cheng Ho glanced at Mouse, then said to Yen Jing, "But you're not even comparable to a mouse. At least it knows not to show off in front of the kids. You're courting death." Yen Jing's eyes turned cold, and killing intent surged. Cheng Ho stretched out a finger and said, "Do you know what this is?" Yen Jing was slightly stunned. Cheng Ho explained, "This is a move." As soon as he finished speaking, a gust of wind rose, and the withered grass and fallen leaves around flew up into the sky. Cheng Ho's body moved from the spot, leaving behind an afterimage as he appeared in front of Yen Jing. Accompanied by a strong wind, a turbulent air wave spread out. Boom! The ground trembled as if there was an earthquake, and cracks extended out one after another. In the cracks, billowing smoke and dust swirled. By the time everyone reacted, Zhong Hao was already standing where Yan Jing was standing. Yan Jing, who was full of killing intent and confidence, was lying on the ground with his face facing up. There was a human-shaped pit on the ground, and outside the pit were extended cracks. Occasionally, smoke and dust rose up. Yan Jing's body was motionless, and his aura became extremely weak. Cheng Ho clapped his hands and said, "Look, you can only bully the small ones." Mouse, who was not far away, widened his eyes and looked at Cheng Ho in shock. He knew that this person was very powerful, but he didn't expect him to be so powerful. The others were also extremely shocked. This guy who appeared out of nowhere was too powerful. He killed a speech realm expert in an instant. Who is he? Shen Hong had a bad feeling in his heart. If it was just helping out when he saw injustice, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if he knew Zi Qin, then it would be troublesome. Just as Shen Hong was still feeling lucky, Cheng Ho turned his head and said, "See, this is my true combat strength. Whether it's in the spiritual world or in another world, I'm the strongest. So, in the future, you better know your place. You should treat a big shot like me with the necessary respect, and not like a hired thug who can come and go at your beck and call." Zi Qin nodded and asked, "Why are you here?" Of course, I'm here to take a look. After all, the spiritual world is too boring." Cheng Ho looked at Zi Qin and said, "Why? Zi Qin can come, but I can't?" "Of course not. I thought it was Sister Hanu who asked you to come," Zi Qin said. At the mention of Hanu, Cheng Ho subconsciously wanted to shrink his neck, but he quickly reacted. This action was really against his image as a great expert, so he coughed lightly and said, "Do you think she can control me?" Zi Qin gave Cheng Ho a thumbs up and gave him a look that said, "You're very strong." The monk and the others were very impressed. They didn't expect Zi Qin to know such a great expert. Suddenly, applause sounded at this moment. "I didn't expect it to be you. Looks like there's an unexpected game this time." It was the fox. It stared at Cheng Ho with a strange gaze. "Sir, this has nothing to do with me. He was the one who captured me. I was forced. Please spare my life." The rat hurriedly lay on the ground and begged for mercy. The fox said disdainfully, "You stinky things who stay underground all day are really disgusting. Get lost." The rat crawled to a nearby place as if it had been pardoned. Chapter 46-69. Gusong grinned. "Of course not." Cheng Ho said, "Do you mean that you can defeat me?" Gusong shook his head again. "Then why aren't you scramming?" Cheng Ho's gaze turned cold. As expected, Gusong began to retreat, but not quickly. Rat, who was in the distance, looked at Cheng Ho as if he was looking at a strange person. He could make Gusong retreat with just one sentence. This was really amazing, but soon he understood the reason. Just as Gusong retreated, some Grahan people approached. Some were not killed before, and some came later. Gusong, who had retreated far away, said, "It's still the same choice. Submit or die." Cheng Ho said indifferently, "If you have the ability, come over and see." Before he finished speaking, the aura of a Yen realm expert appeared. It was the third Yen realm expert. Cheng Ho's face darkened. "Are you deliberately humiliating me?" Previously, Cheng Ho had already killed a Yen realm expert, and it was an instant kill. Now, another Yen realm expert was indeed humiliating him. The others in the distance watched silently. The development of the situation had long exceeded their expectations and had long been out of control. The Yen realm expert that Cheng Ho looked down on could kill everyone here. "Of course we can't humiliate you. We value you very much." Then the fourth and fifth Yen realm experts walked out, appearing in 3 different directions. Cheng Ho's expression was still disdainful, but in the next moment his expression changed. because there was a sixth aura in the field, and this aura was much stronger than the previous 5. It was not at the same level at all. Feeling this aura, everyone's expression changed. This was a completely different realm. Head realm? You were prepared. Chung Ho looked at Gusong, and his expression became ugly. You guessed that I would come? No, they were just passing by and wanted to watch the show. This is just a coincidence, Gusong said indifferently. After the head realm expert appeared, he said to Chung Ho, "This time, let's see where you can run to." Chung Ho was enraged when he heard that. Run? Who do you think I am? Was it a rat? How could it run away just like that? Let me tell you something. Today, I will leave behind my words. Even if I die in battle, I will not run away. Besides Ziqin, everyone was in awe of Chung Ho. The monk asked in a low voice, "Where did you get to know such a great expert? This is too elegant." Before he could finish his words, he saw Chung Ho suddenly dashing off into the distance. This was the opposite direction of the head realm. The monk was stunned and couldn't say anything else. "Where's your face? Just a moment ago, he said that he wasn't going to run. What was he doing now?" That head realm expert was also slightly taken aback. Then he smiled and said, "Aren't you not going to run?" "What I want to tell you is that even if I run, you won't be able to catch up." Chung Ho quickly ran in the opposite direction. "Really?" The head realm sneered. "Then why don't you try again?" Just in the direction Chung Ho was running, another head realm aura appeared. There was actually another head realm expert. "Two of them? Aren't they too shameless? Chung, how cursed!" And then changed his direction again. "Originally, we were going to look for you, but we didn't expect you to take the initiative to come to us." The second head realm expert said, "Don't make a futile struggle. Fight fair and square. Fight your uncle." Chung Ho ran away again. The others in the distance were all stunned. The difference between this great expert's performance before and after was too big. "Chung Ho," Ziqin shouted in dissatisfaction, "what should I do if you run? Didn't you see that I'm attracting firepower? The experts are chasing me. You can just escape by yourself." Chung Ho responded from afar. Ziqin was so angry that he wanted to curse. "This is too shameless. It's obvious that he doesn't care about me anymore. Your skin is rough and your flesh is thick. Can I trouble you to lure these 3 head realm experts away?" Ziqin shouted helplessly. "Okay, you 3 kill Ziqin first, then come and find me." Devil Ape and the others were all dumbfounded. "Is this guy Ziqin's friend?" Gusong laughed. This was what it meant when disaster came and everyone flew away. It had seen such a scene too many times. Shen Hong finally heaved a sigh of relief. There were too many twists and turns today. His heart was nervous a few times. Fortunately, everything was about to end. And Mo Jingtian shook his head and sighed. Today was too thrilling, but Ziqin was finally going to die. A single speech realm cultivator could kill him. Not to mention that there were 3 speech realm cultivators and 2 head realm cultivators. No, another head realm expert appeared. This was the 3rd one, right in front of Chung Ho. Chung Ho screamed and could only continue to change direction. He didn't believe that there would be a 4th head realm expert. Facing such a situation, no one thought that Ziqin could survive. As for Chung Ho, the chances of him surviving were not high either, because the 3 head realm experts had already caught up. "Haha, bunch of idiots. You couldn't catch up to me in the past, but now you think you can?" Chung Ho laughed loudly. "Stop dreaming. I'm the light that you can never catch up to." He immediately sped up, and his body turned into a ray of light. His speed increased many times as he fled into the distance. He really ran away. Ziqin was dumbfounded. Is he really not going to care about me? Gusong's eyes were cold. He's indeed more difficult to deal with. The 3 head realm experts were helpless. In terms of speed, they were indeed slower. Just as the 3 of them were about to give up, They saw the ray of light in front of them turn back. Humph! I was just joking with you. Did you really think that I would run away? Do you think that I'm the kind of person who would abandon my friends and run away alone? Chung Ho's words rang out again. He did turn back, but he seemed to be unable to control his body. He directly smashed into the ground and plowed a mark of nearly 100 feet on the ground. Chung Ho, who landed on the ground, stood up with a dusty face. He smiled at Ziqin and said, "Brother, don't worry. I'm not that kind of person." Ziqin looked at this guy suspiciously. How did he change his personality? The others also looked at Chung Ho strangely. He had obviously run away, so why did he come back? Chung Ho patted the dust off his body and said, "I just wanted to show you the speed of a head realm expert. At the same time, I wanted you to compare the difference between the two sides. How is it? Do you have an idea now?" Ziqin stood there, not knowing how to answer. Chung Ho said again, "See, you didn't understand what I meant, did you? Did you really think that I ran away? Let me tell you." Chung Ho, shut up. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from the horizon. Then, as if a cold current had appeared from afar, it swept over. Chapter 4670. The moment he saw the woman, Ziqin understood why Chung Ho had suddenly turned back. There was even a hint of disdain in his eyes when he looked at him. He was even a great expert. Where was his shame? Chung Ho was signaling to Ziqin with his eyes. Ziqin pretended not to see it. Instead, he looked ahead and called out, "Sister Han Nu." Then an aggrieved expression appeared on Ziqin's face again. Chung Ho wanted to slap Ziqin to death. It was fine if he didn't help, but he actually added firewood to the fire. A cold current swept over, and a layer of frost appeared on the ground. The three head realm experts abandoned Chung Ho and stared at the woman who walked in. Their expressions became extremely solemn. What kind of strange person is this? Why is her aura so terrifying? Mouse lowered his head even more, trying not to attract any attention. Gusong's expression also gradually became solemn. "Kid, think of a way to run. There are three head realm experts here. Even if Han Nu comes, it won't be easy to deal with them." Chung Ho suddenly muttered. Ziqin was a little uncertain about the authenticity of the other party's words. Han Nu approached and glared fiercely at Chung Ho. "This is what you did." Chung Ho's face was bitter. He no longer had the domineering aura from before. He wanted to explain, but Han Nu glared at him, and he swallowed the rest of his words. Fortunately, Han Nu did not pursue the matter. She came in front of Ziqin, looked at Ziqin, and then looked at Ziqin's friends. "Sister, why are you here?" "I came to give you something," Han Nu replied softly. Then she stretched out her jade finger and tapped between Ziqin's eyebrows. A light bloomed from between Ziqin's eyebrows. Abandon all distracting thoughts and sense carefully. As Han Nu's voice sounded, Ziqin's mind gradually calmed down. At the same time, he sensed what had entered between his eyebrows. Qin technique, the power of lightning. These were the three most powerful powers of Saint Ziqin back then. Among them, he had already obtained the purple soul. Could it be that the reason why he was unable to awaken his abilities was because he did not obtain the art of Chen and the power of lightning? The light from the Ice Maiden's fingertip receded, and Ziqin slowly sat down and began to comprehend what he had just obtained. Let's buy some time for him. The Ice Maiden turned to Chung Ho, and she didn't seem to want to negotiate with him. Chung Ho hurriedly nodded and promised, "Don't worry if they dare to approach my brother Ziqin. I will beat them up until they can't even recognize their own mother." Han Nu couldn't be bothered with Chung Ho anymore. Instead, she looked at Ziqin's friends and said, "I'll leave those Gushan people to you." The others nodded. When Han Nu looked at the Gushan people again, her expression had already become incomparably cold. "Kill Yanjing first, and this quickly." "Understood." Chung Ho rushed forward, but the 3 Yen realm experts immediately retreated. They were very decisive. Thus, Chung Ho faced a head realm expert. Boom! A powerful wave of chi rolled and surged, and the 2 of them retreated. 2 marks appeared on the ground, and at the end of the marks, Chung Ho supported himself with one hand and said, "Since you've caught up, I'll let you see the true power of I, Chung Ho. I don't want you to think that I was really scared when I ran away." With that, he rushed forward. The head realm expert struck out with his palm, and the energy between heaven and earth began to surge, and one could faintly see the appearance of the rules. He slapped his palm on Chung Ho's chest. Chung Ho did not dodge, and at the same time he punched out. His fist lit up with a resplendent light, and a dense fist intent was released. There was a loud bang. Chung Ho's body slid back 3 meters, while the head realm expert was sent flying. His body turned in midair, and after landing steadily, the head realm expert's expression became serious. Again, Chung Ho moved forward again, and it was still his fist. His fighting style was extremely valiant, and he only exchanged blows with his opponent, exchanging injury for injury. After the 2 sides collided 5 times in a row, the head realm expert, with blood at the corner of his mouth, began to wander left and right, and did not dare to fight head-on with Chung Ho. At this moment, Chung Ho was like a human-shaped puppet, without any emotions, and could not feel the slightest pain. Every time he attacked with all his strength, the head realm expert would retreat. This was a real attack. Those who had witnessed Chung Ho's escape earlier were not used to seeing the serious Chung Ho again. In another direction, Lady Frost was fighting against 2 people by herself. She stood still, and ice constantly condensed around her, forming ice arrows that shot toward the 2 people. Facing the ice arrows, the 2 of them could only retreat continuously. The 3 head realm experts were blocked by the 2 of them, and the battle was currently in a stalemate. The Gushan people charged forward, and their target was Zichin, but they were stopped by Monk and the rest. They were no match for the Yen realm experts. But from the looks of it, there was no problem in killing these Gushan people. The devil ape waved the bamboo stick in his hand, and the Gushan people who tried to get close were sent flying. On Su Mingyao's side, the little blue and white flower danced in the air, and all the Gushan people who were near her would be momentarily distracted. Being distracted on the battlefield was the most fatal thing. Zhang Haotian did not take charge alone, but instead he wandered around. Once there was danger in any direction, he would provide support. When he suddenly appeared, he could usually kill with one blow. In the midst of the chaotic battle, Zichen was still sitting cross-legged, comprehending these 2 types of power. The battle here was very intense, and in the periphery, everyone was watching silently. There were so many unforeseen events today, and some people were happy and some were sad. Shen Hong's emotions fluctuated the most. Unforeseen events had happened again. What was this? Was it so difficult to kill Zichin? At this moment, he saw the 3 Yen realm Gushan people moving. At this moment, the 2 human masters were being held back, and the 3 Yen realm experts were attacking, so it should be easy to kill Zichin. However, before Shen Hong could relax, he saw Chung Ho immediately turn around and run toward one of the Yen realm experts. That Yen realm expert saw that the situation was not good and chose to retreat again, while the other 2 people moved forward quickly. At this moment, a cold current came, like a huge wave rising from the ocean, and extended toward the 2 of them. The cold current swept past, and one of the Gushan people retreated quickly. His whole body was covered in frost, and there were shards of ice on his hair and eyebrows. He retreated nearly 300 meters before looking in another direction. There, a lifelike ice sculpture stood there, reflecting a sparkling and translucent light. In the end, the Yan realm expert did not break out of the ice and died just like that. Gusong had not made a move all this time. He was not good at fighting, and had always been good at using his brain. Now that he saw that his side was being obstructed, he immediately called for the other masters to come over. This was the area where the Gaduan king lived, and everything was ruled by the Gaduan king. Gusong looked up to the sky and howled. His voice was loud and sharp, and it spread far and wide. Along with the sound, the shadow of a beast appeared at the end of their vision. It was a wolf, a silver wolf. He was the leader of all the silver wolves here. Chapter 46-71. In Gaduan King's territory, there were many silver wolves, but there could only be one silver wolf leader. However, there was more than one head realm that appeared on the horizon. In another direction, a ferocious tiger appeared. It was the king of tigers. After Gaduan became the king here, he gave an order that there could only be one leader among his kind. The leader was the current head realm. There was no limit to the number of head realm warriors under the leader, and below the head realm were the kings of their respective teams. For example, the wolf king that Zi Chen and the others had killed previously, and the deer king that had been wandering around the periphery and was killed. The silent Gusong said, "I'll give you two one more chance. Either submit or die." Cheng Ho was a little hesitant. They were indeed in a dangerous situation. Even if they did not submit, they should leave. The Frost Lady did not speak, but her attacks were even fiercer. Her attitude was clear. The two head realm warriors moved forward. However, after taking a few steps, they suddenly turned around and looked into the distance. There was a hint of vigilance in their eyes. Gusong felt that something was amiss. However, his realm was not high enough, so he could not sense anything unusual. However, the two head realm warriors did not move forward. Naturally, they had their concerns. "Let's end this quickly," Gusong said indifferently. The Gashan people around them increased the speed of their attacks. The two head realm warriors tried to move forward again. The battle was in a stalemate again. Shen Hong looked forward and his eyes began to flicker. At this moment, both sides were obviously evenly matched. They were in a stalemate like a scale. However, if there was an external force, it would be different. This external force could be any force. Shen Hong's expression changed. Since he had chosen to take this step, he had to pay a price. Will Gu Wei change his mind? Shen Hong was a little worried. If Gu Wei changed his mind again, the credit would be his. However, it seemed that Gu Wei was planning to fight to the death. After thinking about it, he finally made up his mind and said, "Let's do it!" He walked forward with killing intent in his eyes. "Master Gusong, we're here to help." As he moved forward, Shen Hong did not forget to shout, indicating his position in advance. Gusong nodded in satisfaction. "Very good." Shen Hong was excited. He knew that he had made the right bet. He immediately waved his hand, and the crowd behind him increased their speed. Because they had consumed a lot of energy earlier, Tyrant and the others were barely able to deal with the Gushan people. The addition of these divine race members was indeed a tremendous pressure for them. This was because Shen Hong and the others would change the direction of the battle. In another direction, MOD was anxious. This is a great opportunity. Should we go over? Mo Jingtian was hesitating. Actually, he was feeling regretful. If he had known earlier, he would have expressed his stance. Mo Yishuang shook her head and said, "What we did before was providing timely assistance. Now that we're there, it's just icing on the cake. Not only is the effect reduced, but the other party might not appreciate it either. Let's wait and see. There's still a long way to go, so there's no need to rush." Shen Hong's men entered the battlefield, and the Gushan people immediately split up. Tyrant was a little anxious as he glanced at Ziqin. Shen Hong's men had made their move. They unleashed their powerful combat strength. Every one of them was in the formation realm. The situation of the battle immediately became unfavorable for everyone. Puff! Xing Chun retreated and coughed out a mouthful of blood. There was an additional wound on his abdomen. It was caused by the bamboo weapon. Initially, Shen Hong's team only had a few bamboo weapons. However, When they came over, they picked up the bamboo weapons beside the Gushan people that they had killed and used them as their own weapons. Han Nu and Chung, who no longer had the time to care about this place. Hei Feng was also forced to retreat. Zi Chen's side was about to die soon. This made Shen Hong even more pleased. The situation of the battle was already changing. At this moment, Zi Chen opened his eyes. There was a glow in his eyes. This glow was a little strange. The aura in the surroundings seemed to have changed. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. All of you shall die. Zi Chen stood up and glared at Shen Hong. None of you shall live. A silver thunderbolt lit up from Zi Chen's body. The power of the heavens and earth gathered towards Zi Chen crazily. The power of the thunderbolt was still gathering. A light array appeared beneath Zi Chen's feet. Array realm. Zi Chen, who had not awakened any abilities, not only did he awaken the power of the thunderbolt, he even reached the array realm. However, before the light array could form, Zi Chen's figure had already disappeared. The next moment, he was in front of Shen Hong. Puff! The bamboo blade in his hand pierced through Shen Hong's chest. Shen Hong retreated slowly. His face was filled with fear. He was unscathed. At the critical moment, a subordinate stood in front of him and blocked Zi Chen's attack for him. Zi Chen did not even look at this God clan member. He pulled out his bamboo blade and took a step forward. A burst of energy dispersed, bringing with it a circle of dust. Zi Chen's figure disappeared. Sir, retreat! A loud roar sounded. Another person stood in front of Shen Hong and used his body to block Zi Chen's bamboo blade. The second God clan member died. Shen Hong retreated in fear. At this moment, facing Zi Chen, who was in the array realm, he felt that he could not fight back. Die. Several God clan members charged towards him from both sides. They all had bamboo blades in their hands. All of them had gathered their strength to the peak. Zi Chen glanced at them. A purple light flew out from his sea of consciousness. Then it split into 5 and entered the glabella of the 5 God clan members. The God clan members stopped in their tracks. Their vitality was extinguished like a candle flame that had been blown out. At this moment, Zi Chen's body was surrounded by 50 different powers. These powers were not pure. There was lightning, purple light, and streams of golden light flowing around him. No one knew what was going on. However, everyone could clearly sense that the purple light from before was the power of the soul. After coming to this world, they had never seen anyone who could awaken their soul power. This purple soul power was Zi Chen's purple soul. In the past, Zi Chen had already awakened his perception ability. However, he did not appear in this form. Today, after obtaining the Chen technique and the power of the thunderbolt, the power of purple soul was displayed. Han Nu looked back. Her eyes were a little dazed. She seemed to have seen the Zi Chen of the past return. Chung Ho also noticed this abnormality. His expression changed. Zi Chen's actions intimidated the other God clan members. For a moment, no one dared to go forward. Instead, they protected Shen Hong and retreated. The weapons of the dead God clan members fell to the side. The next moment, these weapons floated in the air one by one. Purple light flowed on them. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Like hidden weapons, these weapons flew out and sank into the chests of the retreating God clan members. Zi Chen took a step forward. His body paused for a moment. Then his entire body dissipated. Not good. Shen Hong, who was already trembling in fear, saw this scene. His expression changed drastically as he retreated again. Several people stood in front of him, wanting to block the danger for him. Poof! A bamboo blade appeared from behind and pierced through his heart, completely penetrating his body. Zi Chen stood behind Shen Hong. Chapter 46-72. In the blink of an eye, Shen Hong was killed. The combat strength of the two was not on the same level at all. When the other divine clan members saw this, they did not flee in fear. Instead, they charged toward Ziqin as if they had gone mad. However, it was useless. Before he had awakened his powers, Ziqin was already able to kill the Grey Hills. Now that he had awakened his powers, his light of power had reached the boundary of the formation state. Although these Protoss had powerful means, they were still no match for Ziqin. One by one, the divine clan members fell and died. But in the face of such a massacre, they had no intention of escaping. All of them were fighting to the death. It seemed that Shen Hong's identity was not simple. Even if these people returned, they would still die. Ziqin did not hold back. These guys who had lost their minds had to die. "We have to go." At this moment, Chung Ho's voice sounded. His expression became serious, because there was another strange movement in the horizon. Other First Realm cultivators had appeared and were approaching. Ziqin glanced at both sides. Without needing any words, Devil Ape, Tyrant, Zhang Haotian, Su Mengyao, and Wang Xian were charging in this direction. The Grashman could leave, but these divine clan members could not. So before they left, they had to kill these divine clan members. A cold current surged. Lady Frost retreated to Ziqin's side and said, "Hurry up and leave." Chung Ho also rushed back. Gu Song, who was in the distance, laughed and said, "Can you guys really leave?" Other First Realm cultivators appeared in the horizon. They were all beasts of different species. Almost all the First Realm cultivators of each race had appeared. Everyone was surrounded. There was no escape. When Mo Zhengtian saw this scene, he sighed. After so many twists and turns, it's still hard to escape death. In such a situation, no one could escape. Suddenly, under the feet of Ziqin and the rest, the ground cracked open. A huge hole suddenly appeared, and everyone fell into the ground. Such an unforeseen event caused Gusong to be slightly startled. It did not remember making such arrangements. Gusong immediately rushed forward and came to the place where Ziqin and the rest had disappeared. There was a huge hole below, and there was no one there. "Chase after him!" Gusong shouted angrily. The Gushan people in the distance all ran over and jumped into the cave to chase after them. Gusong turned around, wanting to find the rat from before, but he found that the rat had already disappeared. At the outermost area, a large hole appeared in the ground, and a group of people jumped out of the hole. The speech realm rat from before stood at the side with a fawning expression. Chung Ho glanced at the other party with an unfriendly expression. Ziqin cupped his fists to the side. There was a white rat standing upright, leaning on a walking stick. "Thank you for saving me, Senior." Previously, when they fell into the cave, it was this existence who led the way for them, allowing them to escape successfully. The depths are currently not peaceful. You all should stay here for the time being. The white rat waved its hand. Its voice sounded a little old. It glanced at the speechless rat beside it. The speech realm mouse immediately prostrated on the ground, its body trembling. "Go out and get some information," said the white mouse. "Yes, Patriarch." The speech realm mouse felt as if it had been granted amnesty and immediately fled. Having just experienced a great battle, everyone was healing their injuries. Chung Ho stood in front of the Frost Lady, waiting to be reprimanded. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The Gushan people jumped into the cave and began to chase. However, they soon found that one cave had become two, so they split into two groups. Not long after, the two caves became four, and they could only continue to disperse. 4 became 8, and 8 became 16. The number of caves in the ground continued to increase, causing the number of Gushan people to continuously disperse. In the end, they completely lost their target. Gusong had been standing outside the cave and waiting. After the latest news came, a cold killing intent appeared in its eyes. "Go and kill the rats." The head realm that had arrived stood at the side with a troubled expression. There were too many rats here. How could they kill them all? If they could really kill them all, they would have taken action long ago and wouldn't have waited until today. In history, the annoying rats had been surrounded many times. But when had they been destroyed? Go find the cats and let them take action. They must kill all the rats. Gasong said coldly, if they can't kill them all, then the stinky cat race will die out. Also, let those wild dogs help. After giving these instructions, Gusong walked forward. As for the head realm and speech realm experts, they left. The humans in the periphery were not enough for them to kill. Those who escaped earlier will be killed soon. As for you, if you want to join us and become stronger, you can come to me at any time. After saying that, Gusong left. The corpses from before were left, but the bamboo soldiers were all taken away by the Gushan people. Those should have been Zichen's spoils of war, but unfortunately they had escaped in a hurry and didn't take them away. The others were envious, but they didn't dare to go forward. After awakening his ability, Zichen's combat strength had increased a lot. He was almost uninjured, and after recovering from his exhaustion, he sat together with the Frost Lady. Chung Ho squatted next to him, a hint of bitterness in his eyes. Earlier, he had been scolded to his face, but Zichen didn't care about the code of brotherhood and stood aside to watch the show. Since you're in this world, then cultivate well. Once you get out, you'll benefit a lot, the Frost Lady said to Zichen. Sister, have you been to this place before? Zichen asked curiously. Once, the Frost Lady said. I know a little about this place. Why? Didn't Chung Ho tell you? Zichen told her about his meeting with Chung Ho. Facing the Frost Lady's gaze, Chung Ho hurriedly explained, It's not my fault. We didn't appear in the same place, and I had a hard time looking for him. Seeing the Frost Lady's gaze grow colder and colder, Chung Ho hurriedly raised his hand and begged for mercy. All right, I'll tell you a bit more. Based on what I know, after reaching the formation realm, it should be easy to become a holy sovereign. If you can reach the speech realm, that'll be even more amazing. However, if you can reach the head realm here, you'll have an extremely high chance of becoming an ancient holy sovereign. This was what Chung Ho personally felt. Not long after coming here, he had adapted to this place, and thus had the strength of a head realm expert. Chung Ho's expression gradually became serious, but this world also has the fiend realm. As for what realm it corresponds to in the spirit realm, I'm not sure. Perhaps it's the realm that holy sovereigns have always been pursuing, but it might not appear in the spirit realm. As for Gadun, it belongs to a separate realm. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. Chapter 46-73. These were all Chung Ho's guesses, but the level of this world was indeed higher than that of the spirit world. Otherwise, the three races wouldn't have come here. Most importantly, it was extremely difficult to break through to the saint level in the spirit world. But as long as you awakened your ability here, you could break through your shackles and become a saint-level saint. For the spirit world, this was undoubtedly a cheat-like place. Many people had always wanted to uncover the secrets of this world, but no one had succeeded. By the way, why did those rats save you? Chung Ho suddenly thought of this question. If it weren't for the rats' help, they would have suffered a great loss this time. But those rats were all cowards. How could they dare to go against the people of Gadun? Zichen shook his head, expressing his confusion. He had never interacted with rats before. Could it be fate that saved his life? But no matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like it, because they were clearly going against the king of Gadun. Could the rats bear the king's anger? Unfortunately, the white rat had already left, and Zichen couldn't verify it. Stinking cat, stupid dog, I know you're here. Get out here. A cold voice rang out, and a silver wolf stood outside the cave. What's the matter? A black shadow walked out of the cave. It was a large black dog. Although it could speak, it wasn't in the speech realm, but the head realm above it. It was the leader of all the dogs in this area. Where's the dead cat? Why hasn't she come out yet? The silver wolf glanced at the cave. A speed shadow cat walked out. Silver wolf, what's the matter? Lord Gusong said that you two should go and exterminate the white rats. Don't leave a single one alive. The tall silver wolf looked down at the cat and dog. Exterminate? You can exterminate the rat race? The speed shadow cat said, Silver wolf, are you crazy or are you still asleep? This is the Lord's order. If you have any objections, you can go and complain to the Lord. But I advise you not to touch this bad luck, because the Lord said that if the rats don't die, you will die. A hint of cruelty appeared in the silver wolf's eyes. I've wanted to tear you two apart for a long time. Don't give me the chance. Your inner cores are good stuff. After saying that, the silver wolf turned around and left. The cat and dog stared at the back of the silver wolf without saying anything. After the silver wolf left, the speedy cat asked, What did that white-haired wolf do? The sharp blade dog let out a roar. A moment later, a speech realm sharp blade dog came over and quickly explained what had happened. Yen Jing Feng Dao go left, leaving the cat and dog leaders behind. The two of them fell into silence. After a while, the leader of the speed shadow cats asked, What do you think? Feng Dao Go said helplessly, Let's go find White Hair and ask him about the situation. I think that guy is crazy. The white-furred rat returned, and by now, everyone had recovered quite a bit. Following this, the white-furred rat informed them of the latest situation. When Zichen heard about the pursuit of the flame rats, he said in an ashamed tone, We've implicated you, Senior. This has nothing to do with you. Don't blame yourself. The white-furred rat smiled slightly and said, Moreover, our flame rat bloodline is not strong in terms of battle prowess, but in terms of survival ability, no one can compare to us. Even so, Zichen still felt guilty because the white-furred rat had saved him, but now it had implicated quite a few flame rats. The white-furred rat said, If you really feel bad, then quickly increase your strength and then go kill them all. Seeing Zichen's startled expression, the white-furred rat said, There's no need to worry. They all deserve to die. Moreover, if you want to grow quickly, you must refine their nadins. Zichen said, But after the formation realm, there are no energy crystals, right? That's for the deformed Gashan people. The other species all have nadins, and the stronger their battle prowess, the higher the nidin's grade. The white-furred rat smiled and said, So there's no need to worry. Just keep on killing. Ancestor, the cat and dog leaders are here. The speech realm mouse that had gone out to scout earlier came out from the ground. What are they doing here? The white-furred rat was slightly startled, then said, Stay here and see if anyone needs anything. Do your best to satisfy them. The speech realm mouse promised, Don't worry, Ancestor. When the white-furred rat left, it nodded at Han Nu and Chung Ho, then burrowed into the ground and left. After it left, Chung Ho said somewhat worriedly, Didn't you notice that they seem to be treating us too well? Han Nu said, Not us, but Zichen. She had long since noticed that the white-furred rat's attitude towards Zichen was very unusual. This time, it had taken such a great risk to help everyone, probably because of Zichen, but she didn't know why. The white-furred rat burrowed out of the ground, just in time to see the cat and dog leaders. The two sides had known each other for a long time and couldn't be more familiar with each other. Why are you here? Feng Dao Dog snorted and said, Gasong ordered us to kill you. Why do you think we're here? Speed Shadow Cat also said unhappily, Of all the things you could do, why did you have to offend Gasong? Now, if we don't exterminate your clan, we'll die. Old thing, it's fine if you want to die, but why do you have to drag us down with you? The white-furred rat said helplessly, This time I didn't provoke them. They provoked me. I'm in a passive position. Bullshit. Don't think I don't know that you saved people right under Gusong's nose. Feng Dao Dog was angry. Speed Shadowcat said, "Send them back, then apologize to Gasong. Maybe there's still room to turn things around." The white-furred rat shook its head. "You two are still too young. You don't understand Gasong, and you don't understand the past. Originally, I wanted to go find you three, but since you're here, I'll make it clear. I can't hand over the humans. As for you two, don't have any other ideas. The four of us have always been disliked, and it hasn't been like this for a day or two. If your father were still alive, he would definitely make the same choice as me, because this is one of our few chances." The white-furred rat's eyes suddenly flashed. "Haven't you always wanted revenge?" The expressions of the cat and dog leaders changed. Feng Dao Dog said, "What do you mean?" "I don't mean anything," said the white-furred rat. "Right now, I'm lacking some inner cores. If you have any, hurry up and send them over. As for Gusong, you don't need to deliberately reply. For the time being, I'll have the cubs go into hiding." Seeing the two leaders hesitate, the white-furred rat said, "This might be your only chance. You two don't need to know the truth. Just give me some inner cores. As for the rest, I'll take care of it. Also, don't go looking for that stupid bird. It's been busy lately." Chapter 4674. "Sir, are we going out to hunt today?" Bumi came to Zi Chen and asked excitedly. Zi Chen looked at Bumi helplessly. It clearly had the strength of the speech realm, and its true combat strength was much stronger than his, but it always followed him and called him Lord. He had corrected it many times, and Bumi always nodded in agreement, but it still called him Sir. "Sir, I found a little wolf king today. Do you want to kill it?" Zi Chen couldn't kill a speech state in a one-on-one fight, so he spent most of his time hunting the king of a small group. They were all in the formation state with 99 strands of power. Once they reached the speech state, they would be in the speech state. The rats had been very low-key recently, but they still had a lot of information. Zi Chen could use this information to easily find prey. "I'm going to cultivate today." Zi Chen took out an inner core. This was given to him by the rat. It was the inner core of a speech state beast. Zi Chen couldn't get it by himself. Bumi was a bit disappointed. At this moment, it saw Chung Ho walk over. Its eyes lit up. "Sir, do you want to hunt the leaders? Those leaders also have nadins." Chung Ho glanced at it and didn't bother replying. He was willing to hunt the leaders. As long as it could increase his power, why not? However, the white-furred rat reminded Chong how that not everyone could improve through the Naiden. Everyone's potential was limited. Once they reached a limit, they couldn't improve and grow. On this point, Pei Winyao proved it very well. After he reached 60 strands of power, no matter how he refined the crystals, he couldn't improve at all. Opportunities were useless here. It all depended on one's talent and compatibility with the laws. During this time, Zi Chen let him try to refine the inner core of a speech state beast, but he still didn't improve. Thus, 60 strands of power was Pei Wenyao's limit. Fortunately, the others did not experience such a situation. Currently, their strength was steadily increasing. Among them, Zi Chen had caught up from behind and was advancing very quickly. Currently, his strength had exceeded 80 strands. As for Tyrant and the others, their strength had already exceeded 90. It wouldn't be long before they could break through to the speech state. As for whether he could successfully reach the speech realm, this was a matter for another time. After Feng Dao Dog and Speedy Shadowcat returned, they were a little nervous. After all, this was Gaduan King's territory, and they were his subordinates. As Gadun King's subordinates, he had direct command over them. Therefore, the task of exterminating the rats was not something that they had to carry out. The Silver Wolf's words weren't that simple. It really wanted to kill the two leaders. If it wasn't for Gaduan King's orders, the two leaders wouldn't have survived. However, this kind of protection was only relative. If both sides really fell out with each other, King Gaduan would not pursue the Silver Wolf. This was also the reason why cats and dogs usually stayed together, just in case. This was because, compared to the other leaders, cats and dogs were considered outsiders and were not treated well. No one would side with an outsider, let alone an outsider without strength and ability. Fortunately, this kind of worry did not appear. No one from the top came to pursue this matter, as if they had forgotten about it. The rats were still hiding underground and rarely showed themselves. However, they did not miss any news that they should have. "My lord, you haven't hunted for a long time. If you don't go out and practice, your hands will be rusty." Bumi came in front of Zi-Chin again. It seemed to be very bored and often came here to give Zi-Chin advice. Zi-Chin smiled. "Indeed, I should go out and practice. Do you have any good suggestions?" Bumi quickly said, "Yes, there is a tiger nearby that has taken over the mountain. We can go and kill it." "Don't worry, it's not a speech state. Okay, let's go take a look." Zi-Chin stood up. Under Bumi's lead, he walked towards the so-called target. "Wait for me," Tyrant called out. He was quite bored, so he followed. "I'm coming too." Monster Ape also came over. Zi-Chin glanced at the two. "Aren't you cultivating? My power reached 99, then I got stuck." "Maybe I'll improve if I go out for a walk," Monster Ape said. Tyrant was in the same situation. "That's good." Asterisk, 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 asterisk. A young man in white walked over from a field, his hands clasped behind his back as he looked around at the beautiful scenery. Occasionally he encountered some beasts, but when they saw the young man in white, they would immediately avoid him. The youth walked all the way to the periphery until he arrived at a sea of flowers. Looking at the flowers in front of him, the young man's expression changed. As if he had seen countless delicacies, the young man gulped. How enviable! He reached out and grabbed at the air. The flowers in front of him immediately withered. Countless amounts of pollen flew into the air and converged like a stream of water towards the young man. The young man opened his mouth and swallowed the pollen. The sea of flowers was clearly smaller now. The young man closed his eyes and smacked his lips, an expression of intoxication on his face. When he opened his eyes, he saw a beautiful woman standing in front of him. The young man chuckled. "Are you angry? But what can you do to me?" The woman stood in the middle of the sea of flowers. Countless petals danced around her, making her look like a flower fairy. The young man tilted his head, revealing his white neck. He pointed with his finger. "Do you want to chop me to death? Too bad you don't dare to come out. How about I cover for you while you come and chop off my head?" Dan Xiang looked at the young man in white, still not saying anything. "Woman, you're really boring. Forget it. Since you don't dare to come out, you can only wait for me to slowly devour your laws." The young man stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. "When there is no more distance between us, I'll definitely do it with you. The taste should be excellent. I'm leaving. When you miss me, remember to think of me. I'll come often." The young man waved goodbye to Danxiang, then walked off in another direction. This sea of flowers was permanently damaged, with no possibility of recovery, because what was lost was not only pollen but also laws. When the sea of flowers disappeared, this flower fairy would fall. Under Bumi's lead, Zi-Chin arrived at the peak of the mountain and saw the tiger. It was only in the formation realm, and it occupied the mountain by itself. In the end, Zi-Chin didn't have to do anything. The devil ape and the monk fought over the tiger and killed it. As a spectator, Zi-Chin watched with relish. Bumi flattered him from the side. This was the monk's spoils of war. Just as he was about to take the crystal, he saw the devil ape glance at the peak of the mountain. The next moment, light blossomed from the peak, and a large rock whistled toward him. A sneak attack? The monk's expression changed. 99 beams of light appeared, and a light formation formed beneath his feet. He was ready for battle. The devil ape took a step forward, and the entire mountain shook. He reached out and stopped the rock with a single hand. The rock landed in his hand, and boundless light blossomed. Then the rock turned into a stone staff, which he grasped in his hand. Chapter 46, 75. In the ape's hand, the big stone turned into a stone stick, and the light on the stick gradually faded. Feeling the weight of the stone stick, the corners of his mouth raised into a smile, and he waved it twice. Immediately, sand and stones flew around, and the whole mountain seemed to tremble. Just by waving the stick, the whole mountain was affected. The ape laughed and glanced at the monk who had just snatched the prey from him, very proud. Seeing this, the monk immediately ran to the top of the mountain. Feeling uneasy, he picked up a huge stone, and the light of the power around him gathered on the stone and shouted, "Change!" Unfortunately, it didn't change. The monk dropped the big stone in his hand, and then picked up the next one, and continued to shout, "Change!" A person appeared beside the ape, and he looked at the ape with a smile. Chen guessed the person's identity and went forward to thank him. The ape held the stick and cupped his fist. "Your luck is not bad." The person smiled, and then looked at the monk on the top of the mountain. "Little friend, this is the only opportunity here. If you want it, you can try your luck elsewhere." The monk was very depressed and resentfully walked down. "This is too much of a bully. So many people got the opportunity. Why didn't I?" The ape laughed. "Monk, let's fight." The monk glanced at the stick in the ape's hand. "Fight my ass. A monk must avoid fighting fiercely." Feeling uneasy, the monk unwillingly asked, "Mountain God, do you know where there are other opportunities?" The man called Mountain God was slightly startled, and then smiled. "I don't know, the so-called opportunity has to be predestined." The monk asked again, "Then do you have any relatives or friends? For example, other mountain gods, can you introduce them?" "No." The man shook his head. Seeing that the monk still wanted to say something, Chen had to pull him away, and did not forget to say goodbye to the man. "This is too embarrassing." The monk was very depressed, and he was in a bad mood. He couldn't understand why good things never came to him. When they reached the bottom of the mountain, the monk's mood gradually calmed down. He looked at Chen and asked, "Where are you going next?" "Back." "Don't. It's boring to go back. Let's go somewhere else to hunt." The monk looked at Bumi. "Bumi, is there any other prey nearby?" "There's a silver wolf not far from here," Bumi said. "Then don't just stand there. Let's go," the monk urged. Chen glanced at Tyrant. Naturally, he knew what this guy was planning. It was nothing more than going to some other places to try his luck. Perhaps he would be able to find his own luck. Under Tyrant's strong request, Chen went to kill 2 more Formation Realm Kings. Tyrant stood by the side and didn't do anything. However, he didn't obtain any opportunities either. On the way back, he was not in a good mood, but the devil ape was waving the stone stick in its hand, very satisfied with this unexpected surprise. Bumi looked at the monk and suggested, "Next time we continue hunting, we can go to a place with mountains and rivers. Maybe we can find something." "Yes, that's the way it should be." Tyrant stepped forward and patted Bumi's head. "Bumi, I see that you are very familiar with this place, so I will leave this matter to you. You won't disappoint, right?" "Don't worry, Your Excellency, I will do it well," Bumi promised. It seemed to be very enthusiastic about this kind of thing. After returning, Chen met with the White Rat, who told him a piece of important news. Gaduin's region was in turmoil, and one of the 3 Gashan demons under Gaduin's command had died in battle. The Gashan demons were existences beyond the head realm. There were only 3 of them in Gaduin's region, and their combat strength was second only to Gaduin's. During this time, Gusong didn't pursue the matter with the rats because of this incident. At this moment, Gaduin's attention was focused on the depths, and he had no time to care about these trivial matters. After all, the death of a Gashan demon was a big blow to Gaduin's power. The White Rat looked at Chen. "Gusong has no time to care about this, so you can do whatever you want and try to reach the head realm as soon as possible. That way, if Gusong comes looking for trouble again, you can protect yourself. Zi Chen's current strength had reached 93 Dao paths, and there were only 6 Dao paths left to reach the bottleneck of 99 Dao paths. Zi Chen hadn't felt the bottleneck yet, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to reach 99 Dao paths. As for whether he could break through, it was still unknown. Before leaving, the white rat gave Zi Chen another dantian and told him to continue refining it. Apart from Pei Wenyao, who was stuck at 60 Dao paths, everyone else had reached 99 Dao paths, and everyone was stuck there. After that, Zi Chen stayed there and didn't go out until his strength reached 99 Dao paths. Then he felt the bottleneck himself. It was as if there were invisible shackles on his body. Even without refining the Dao paths, Zi Chen knew that he couldn't break through. 99 strands of strength was his current limit. Under normal circumstances, Zi Chen would leave this place. However, the current situation wasn't normal. The door to leave hadn't been opened, and staying here was extremely dangerous. It was a dilemma. "My lord, why don't we go find a speech realm cultivator to play with?" Bumi came in front of Zi Chen and suggested, "What do you mean?" Zi Chen glanced at the other party. Bumi grinned. "My lord, you're at the peak of the formation realm now. There's no point in fighting other formation realms. Why don't we go play with a speech realm cultivator?" "A speech realm cultivator?" Zi Chen smiled. "Aren't you a speech realm cultivator?" "No, my lord, you can't." Bumi waved his little paws. "Come, I'll just treat it as a practice session." Zi Chen said, "If I don't test the power of a speech realm cultivator in advance, how can I deal with other speech realm cultivators after I leave?" Seeing Zi Chen's insistence, Bumi could only bite the bullet and agree. Zi Chen took a few steps back. His aura began to circulate, and a light formation appeared under his feet. When Bumi saw this, he knew that he couldn't avoid it. Fortunately, he could only accompany Zi Chen to practice. If he refused, he wouldn't be able to get away with it in front of the patriarch. An even larger light formation extended from Bumi's feet. The aura of a speech realm cultivator surged. Zi Chen tapped his foot and instantly closed in on Bumi, punching out. Bumi's body flew into the air for a brief moment. He reached out with his little paws and blocked Zi Chen's punch. Bam! A ripple spread out. Zi Chen's body slid backward while Bumi tumbled away. So this was the result. Zi Chen's expression didn't change. He charged forward again and punched again. This time, the power of the punch was even stronger. Golden light swirled around the fist. This was the power of Zi Chen's physical body. It could also be called the art of Qin. Bam! Chapter 46-76. Bumi was sent flying backward, seemingly unable to withstand a single blow. On the other hand, Zi Chen's expression was solemn. The other party had taken 2 of his attacks without being injured at all. Bumi landed on the ground and grinned. Swoosh! Zi Chen's vision blurred as Bumi approached him like a huge wave, bringing with it a powerful oppressive aura. Zi Chen clenched his fists and crossed them in front of his body to block. 99 rays of power spun around his body. Another loud tremor sounded. Zi Chen's body retreated as a powerful force appeared between his crossed arms. Bumi landed easily and exerted his strength again. Bang! 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 The ground trembled as powerful fluctuations spread out. Monk and the others heard the commotion and walked over. They happened to see the 2 sides fighting. Their strength had reached 99 rays, but they could not advance any further. Looking at the battle before them, they could truly sense the power of the Yen realm. Last time, everyone was lucky to be able to succeed when they worked together. During this period, the carelessness of the Yen realm also played a role. He's only 1 step away from the Yen realm, but the difference in strength is so great. Monk shook his head, slightly, feeling somewhat indignant. During this period of time, they had tried many methods, but no one had broken through. This had nothing to do with talent, but the suppression of the rules. It wasn't that they didn't have the ability, but the rules here didn't allow it, so they could only stay in this realm. Smoke rose as Ziqin quickly retreated. Rays of power flowed around his body, neutralizing the remaining force. Don't hold back. Use your methods. Bumi opened his mouth and spat out a ball of flames. A huge fireball headed straight for Ziqin. Beside Ziqin, a bamboo blade flew into his hand. He held the bamboo blade and slashed at the fireball in front of him. Strong light shot out in all directions as a powerful force surged. It was cut in half. The separated fireball dissipated in front of Ziqin, and the scorching air waves slapped Ziqin's face. More than 10 flames flew out and attacked Ziqin from all directions. They were not as large as before, but their power was not reduced. Ziqin swung his saber again, and saber beams kept lighting up. The flames disappeared one after another. By the time the last flame disappeared, Ziqin had already retreated more than 10 feet. His face was somewhat pale, and the bamboo blade in his hand was charred black with sparks. Bumi landed on the ground and stopped attacking. He said respectfully, "My lord is indeed powerful. Even I am no match for you." Ziqin glanced at Bumi. He had punched Bumi several times, but he hadn't been able to hurt it. It was clear that Bumi's body was quite strong. This bamboo weapon is too useless. Sir, what you need now is a suitable weapon. Bumi smiled and said, "Why don't we go out for a walk again? Perhaps I'll encounter some opportunities." "Count me in." Monk walked over and witnessed the battle. Without a good weapon, Monk naturally didn't feel good. Ever since the demon ape had obtained the stone staff, the monk had always been brooding over powerful weapons. "What's the situation outside?" Ziqin didn't answer immediately, but asked first. Bumi said, "Something happened in Gaduin. A demon died in battle. They're too busy looking for the murderer to care about us. Then we can go out for a walk." Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The white-clothed youth wandered around the periphery. After leaving the sea of flowers, he went to a forest, but didn't go in. With a wave of his hand, the forest shrank a little. Under the tree's gaze, he swaggered away. He passed by a mountain and came to a lake. He looked at the lake in front of him and stretched. He said in boredom, "I've eaten too many times. How boring." The water in the center of the lake suddenly churned. A woman wearing a veil appeared from the center of the lake and looked at the white-clothed youth. The white-clothed youth looked at the woman from head to toe. His gaze wandered around her waist. "You haven't changed much." He reached out his hand and grabbed the air. His gaze moved up her waist and finally stopped at a certain place. "But it feels good. One day you will die." The woman in front of him coldly said, "Is that so?" The young man in white laughed and said, "Have you become stupid from sleeping? I am the god of this place. Who can kill me?" Not far away, the soil on the ground gently churned. A small hole appeared and a mouse poked its head out. It seemed to be looking for food. It was very vigilant and looked around carefully. The white-clothed youth reached out and grabbed. The lake water in front of him surged. A large amount of water flew out like a water dragon and rushed towards the youth. The youth opened his mouth and swallowed all the water into his stomach. "Look, I took away a part of your power. What can you do to me?" The woman looked at him coldly and didn't say anything. "How boring. Why don't you at least say a few more harsh words, and let me see that helpless and desperate expression of yours?" The youth immediately snapped his fingers. Not far away, the mouse that had just poked its head out seemed to be imprisoned and slowly flew up. The mouse screamed in fear and struggled. The white-clothed youth looked from afar and laughed. "I'll kill you with one slash." In front of the mouse, the air began to condense and then turned into a wind blade that slashed towards the mouse. With a puff, the wind blade dodged, and the mouse's claws cut off one of them. The mouse's screams became more shrill and terrified. The white-clothed youth continued to laugh. "I'll kill you with 2 slashes." The wind blade appeared out of nowhere and cut off the second mouse's claws. "I'll kill you with 3 slashes." The third wind blade appeared, but this time it directly cut off the mouse's head. The imprisoning power disappeared, and the flame mouse's headless body fell to the ground. The white-clothed youth didn't forget to wave goodbye to the woman in the lake. Then he walked forward while humming a song. "Little mouse, hiding your head and not your tail. Your teeth are sharp and your hair is short. 1 slash will cut you in half." He reached out and pointed forward. A mouse that was hiding underground suddenly flew out. Then the wind blade appeared out of nowhere and slashed towards the mouse's body. "Cut it in half." The youth reached out and pointed continuously. For a moment, the mice that were hiding underground seemed to be dragged out by a powerful force. Then the wind blade appeared out of nowhere and killed one mouse after another. The youth walked away, and only his singing was heard. Everywhere he went, countless flame mice died. After the youth left, the woman returned to the lake. "My lord, I just received news that a speech-state silver wolf is drinking water. Let's go and take a look." Under Bumi's lead, Zi-Chin and the others walked towards the silver wolf. Not only Zi-Chin and the monk, but everyone came out, including Pei Wenyao. He also wanted to see what was going on. When necessary, they could still work together to deal with a speech-state wolf. At the edge of a lake, a silver wolf was drinking by the lake. When it heard the commotion behind it, it turned its head and discovered the group. The silver wolf turned around and saw Zi-Chin and the others. Its eyes were cold. Bumi, who was a speech-state wolf, hid behind and whispered, "My lord, your target is in front." Zi-Chin said, "You're also a speech-state wolf. Why are you afraid of it? It's stronger than me. If it knows that I brought you here, my lord, it will definitely tear me apart first." Bumi said carefully, "Although I believe that my lord can kill it, it's better to be careful." The others glanced at Bumi. It was the first time they saw a speech-state wolf so afraid of death. They wondered if it was because it was a rat. Zi-Chin looked around and said, "Was there a battle here?" There were craters on the ground and dried bloodstains everywhere. However, the traces of a battle were not obvious. No one knew what left them. Bumi's eyes turned slightly. "There's an unknown fellow. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's been killing our people." The silver wolf left the lake and slowly walked towards them. "Humans, you have guts." The speech realm silver wolf took the initiative to speak. Zi-Chin waved his hand to signal for the others to stop. He walked forward by himself. The silver wolf saw through the human's intentions, and its eyes turned even colder. "I will tear you apart." Zi-Chin's body lit up. 99 rays of power appeared, and the light formation under his feet slowly expanded. "You're courting death." An even larger formation appeared under the wolf's feet. The energy of heaven and earth surged, and countless streams of air gathered in front of the silver wolf, turning into wind blades. Whoosh! 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 The wind blades tore through the air and attacked Zi-Chin. After the attack, the silver wolf stood there and watched indifferently. Obviously, it did not think that a mere formation state cultivator could block its attack. The term formation state was invented after the humans arrived. Suddenly, the silver wolf's pupils constricted. It saw the human in front of it dodging the wind blades. He was very fast. He avoided the wind blades and approached it. A powerful aura came from the front. A shining fist smashed towards the silver wolf's head. The silver wolf opened its mouth and let out a roar. A terrifying aura emerged from the light formation under its claws. At the same time, a strong hurricane with wind blades swept towards the approaching Zi-Chin. Zi Chen's fist exploded in front of it. A powerful wave of air surged. His punch broke through the hurricane and hit the silver wolf's head. With a bang, the silver wolf retreated. A light flashed under Zi Chen's feet and he approached again. This time he had a bamboo blade in his hand. The bamboo blade lit up. He slashed down. With a rip, as if a thick cloth was cut open, a bloody wound appeared on the silver wolf's front leg. The silver wolf retreated again, and its expression became serious. Zi Chen tapped his glabella. A purple light flew out and entered the silver wolf's mind. The silver wolf's body swayed and seemed to be unstable. At this moment, Zi Chen came to the silver wolf's side again. He raised the bamboo blade in his hand and slashed down. Monk and the others were watching this scene. They were very focused and their expressions were somewhat shocked. In the center of the lake, there were ripples on the surface. A woman's head popped out and she was also watching the battle. Bumi, who was hiding in the distance, noticed the woman's presence. Chapter 46-77. Bumi's gaze quickly shifted as he pretended not to see the woman poking her head out of the lake. The battle ahead was still ongoing, and it had reached the most critical moment. Zi Chen's bamboo blade slashed open a bloody wound on the silver wolf's neck. The silver wolf roared in pain and turned its head to bite Zi Chen, its teeth glinting coldly. He blocked with his bamboo blade, but it was bitten off by the silver wolf with a crack. Zi Chen's body slid backward, abandoning the broken bamboo blade. The silver wolf spat out the bamboo blade and continued to pounce at Zi Chen. The stench of blood filled the air. At this moment, a purple light flew out from Zi Chen's glabella and entered the silver wolf's mind like a sword beam. The silver wolf's eyes went blank for a moment. When it came to its senses, it saw a fist right in front of it. With a boom, the silver wolf was sent flying and rolled several times when it landed. A bamboo spear flew over from afar. Zi Chen grabbed the bamboo spear and stabbed it at the silver wolf. Uft! The silver wolf had just stood up and was still in a daze. It couldn't dodge the danger. The bamboo spear stabbed into the silver wolf's eyes and pierced through its head. The silver wolf at the speech realm wailed as the light of power it had just mobilized dissipated, like a gust of wind. The light array under its feet also dissipated, and its body stood motionless. Just like that, the speech realm beast lost all signs of life. Everyone watching the battle heaved a sigh of relief, but they still couldn't hide their shock. It was so easy to fight a speech realm wolf. When Zi Chen was sparring with Bumi, it was quite difficult for him to do so. Furthermore, everyone could tell that if it weren't for the fact that Zi Chen's weapon wasn't suitable, the battle would have ended the moment Zi Chen slashed at the silver wolf's neck. Apart from the difference in realm, the silver wolf was completely outclassed by Zi Chen in terms of strength and speed. Bumi immediately ran over from afar and was the first to arrive in front of Zi Chen. He stole a glance at the silver wolf's corpse and said excitedly, "Congratulations, my lord. You've won a battle above your level." Zi Chen pulled out the bamboo spear, and the silver wolf's body fell to the ground. He bent down and searched for the silver wolf's inner core. This silver wolf's teeth can even crush bamboo weapons. It should be a good weapon to refine. Sir, if you really need a weapon, the bamboo house is a good place. Not only are there weapons suitable for the Yen realm, there are also weapons suitable for the head realm. Bumi smiled and said, "If my lord is willing, we can also find a weaponized mountain man and kill him." Last time, Zi Chen and the others had killed one of them, but that person didn't have a weapon. The one that was killed by Cheng Ho seemed to have one, but unfortunately they were running away and didn't have time to retrieve it. There's no hurry. Zi Chen found the silver wolf's inner core and dug it out. Bumi inadvertently glanced at the lake. In the center of the lake, a woman floated out of the water, causing quite a commotion. Such a scene caused everyone's expression to change. and they all looked at the woman. Monk reacted quickly and said first, "Is this the river god fairy?" Once, Su Mengyao found a blue and white flower in a sea of flowers. That was a great opportunity. Wang Xian had obtained a sword from the tree. It was extraordinary. Previously, it was Wang Xian who had broken through the defense of the Yen realm. Devil Ape followed Zi-Chin up the mountain once and found a stone rod. With it, Devil Ape was like a tiger that had grown wings. Recently, Monk, who was at a bottleneck, had been asking Bumi to pay attention to the nearby mountains and rivers in order to find an opportunity to get a weapon. Today, a fairy appeared in the lake. Did this mean that it was an opportunity? In the next moment, the woman stretched out her hand, and a white pearl appeared in her palm. It looked like a glass pearl. Monk opened his eyes wide and shouted, "Opportunity, this is my opportunity. Thank you, fairy." Zi-Chin rolled his eyes. This guy didn't mind at all. The pearl flew forward, emitting a bright light. Monk became even more excited. The others were also surprised. They didn't know what kind of opportunity this was. At this moment, Monk ran forward quickly. Obviously, he couldn't wait any longer. As soon as Monk left, Yi Qian, who was standing beside Su Mengyao, stretched out her hand and made a gesture of taking something. Monk went to the pearl and wanted to grab it. Suddenly, the pearl sped up and avoided Monk's hand. It flew toward Yi Qian and landed in her palm. Monk was stunned. When he turned around and saw this scene, he became depressed. "It's not mine." Bumi didn't look at the pearl. Instead, he looked at the woman. "This is your fate. Congratulations." The woman, standing in the center of the lake, took the initiative to speak. Zi-Chen immediately cupped his fists and thanked her. The others did the same. It was polite to thank someone for giving something out of kindness. Yi Qian held the pearl and bowed to the woman. The woman nodded and then sank back into the lake. "Congratulations, congratulations," Bumi said with a smile. Bumi chuckled and said, "I didn't think we'd be able to find something so unexpected here. If we go to more places, perhaps we'll all be able to find our own opportunities." "That's right. You found a place." Monk went forward and patted Bumi's head. "There are so many of us. As long as we don't meet the head realm, there won't be any problems." Bumi said, "Don't worry, Lord. The head realm almost never comes here. Even if they do, we'll get the news in advance and guarantee that you won't be in danger." Since Bumi had said that they naturally had to try their luck. In a situation where they couldn't increase their cultivation level, they could only rely on the opportunities here to improve their combat power. They might even encounter an opportunity to break through to the speech realm. Under Bumi's lead, Zi-Chin and the others killed one speech realm after another. During this time, they didn't find trouble with the speech realm hillmen. On the one hand, they rarely came to the periphery. On the other hand, Zi-Chan was worried about attracting unnecessary trouble. After all, Gusong's attention had already been diverted. There was no need to attract their attention. After killing these speech realm hillmen, they would keep their inner cores. Right now, refining their inner cores would be useless. "Lord, we just received news that there's another speech realm hillman up ahead." Bumi pointed in another direction for Zi-Chin. The group of people walked in that direction. However, halfway through, they encountered a sea of flowers. Zi-Chin had an impression of this place. Faint fragrance in the sea of flowers had saved everyone's lives. Su Mengyao had also obtained her own opportunity here. Everyone was happy at that time. Just as Zi-Chen was considering whether to pay Faint Fragrance a visit, there was a sudden exclamation beside him. Zi-Chen heard the sound and looked forward. He saw Faint Fragrance's body suspended in the air. It wasn't caused by magic power. Someone had grabbed her by the neck. "Stop!" Zi-Chen shouted and rushed forward. Chapter 46-78. It was a man in white who was choking light fragrance. He stood in the middle of the sea of flowers. Flower Fairy Light Fragrance stood in front of him as if she had no room to fight back. The sea of flowers used to be quite large, but now it had shrunk by more than half. Light Fragrance did not struggle. She seemed to have accepted her fate. Zichun shouted and moved forward without hesitation. Light Fragrance had saved their lives before. Now that she was in danger, there was no reason for him not to save her. He did not think about whether he could save her, nor did he think about the background of the man in white. Su Mengyao and the others did not hesitate either. They followed Zichun, but were stopped by Bumi. This Yen realm, who had always been easy to talk to and called everyone lord, showed a rare strong will at this moment. The Yen realm's aura enveloped the area, bringing with it an oppressive aura that stopped everyone, except for Zichun. "Bumi, what are you doing?" Xingqin shouted. The others also looked coldly at this abnormal guy. "Don't go, you'll die." Bumi instinctively wanted to retreat under everyone's cold gazes, but when he thought of the consequences, he could only continue to block them. "Bullshit, we'll die, but Zichun won't." Tyrant said unhappily. "Why don't you stop him? If Lord Zichun dies, then you won't be able to survive. If one dies, all of you will die." Bumi said bitterly. "Why don't we let Lord Yin scout them out first?" No one believed Bumi. Tyrant stepped forward and grabbed Bumi's head. "I'll tell you, what do you know?" Bumi's Yen realm's aura disappeared. He pointed into the distance and whispered, "Don't be rash and don't attract attention. Look over there first. As long as you don't go over, you can do whatever you want." He did not tell them to run because he knew it was pointless. If Lord Zichun died here today, everyone would die. All of them. Hearing the shout, the man in white turned around and saw Zichun. Zichun also saw that it was a young man. A human? The young man in white frowned. "Let her go," Zichun said indifferently. The white-clothed youth glanced at Faint Fragrance and asked, "You know her?" "Let her go," Zichun repeated. "A mere formation realm cultivator dares to order me around? Interesting." The white-clothed youth faintly smiled. He looked at Danxiang and said, "What's even more interesting is that you knew that he wouldn't be able to save you, yet you didn't do anything. What, do you want him to die in front of you?" The white-clothed youth tossed Danxiang away. She landed on the ground and coughed. There was already a deep mark on her neck. The young man looked at Zichun and then at everyone in the distance. "It's rare to see so many humans at once. Do you want me to sing a song for you?" Faint Fragrance's coughing stopped, and she retreated, maintaining a distance from the youth. Zichun didn't understand the young man and didn't dare to act rashly. Everyone in the distance was extremely nervous, and the most nervous was Bumi. This was because they had bet more things. If Zichun was defeated and died today, there should be no more flame rats in this area. "Since you didn't object, I'll take it that you agreed." The white-clothed youth looked at Zichun and smiled as if he was looking at a beloved toy. "I'll kill you with one punch." In front of Zichun, the air condensed into a fist and hit Zichun's chest. With a grunt, Zichun took a few steps back. "I'll kill you with 2 punches." A second fist appeared out of thin air and hit Zichun's body again. Zichun flew back a few feet. "What the hell?" Zichun's expression changed. The young man just said, "I'll kill you with 3 punches." Zichun's figure swayed. He wanted to avoid this attack, but his back hurt again. His whole body fell forward, making an indecent posture like a dog falling on its face. "Hit your forehead, hit your face, and let's do a little performance." The white-clothed youth laughed. Zichun's forehead was hit, and his cheeks turned red. At the same time, he felt like he was being grabbed by someone and flew a dozen times in the air. When he landed on the ground, he was dizzy. "Who the hell is that guy?" Bumi asked in a low voice. He knew Zichun's strength too well, but in front of the young man, he didn't have any room to react. The most important thing was that the other party really seemed to be singing, but Chen was suffering all the time. He's a very special existence. I don't know what exactly he is. Bumi shook his head. His knowledge was very limited. I'll hit you again. Interesting, really interesting. The young man was still laughing. Chen was still enduring the attacks. It was as if the young man's words were law, and his every move was as light as a feather. Chen lay on the ground. The young man asked, "How is it? Can you still hold on?" Chen bent his arms and looked at the young man with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. "How inexperienced do you think you are? What kind of song is this? It's terrible." He was actually thinking about this. The young man's smile disappeared, and a cold expression appeared on his face. "Do you want to die?" Pale Fragrance watched this scene nervously. She retreated again. She knew that the moment of life and death had arrived. Chen stood up and looked at the young man indifferently, although he still couldn't see through the young man's strangeness. "I'm asking you a question. Do you want to die?" The young man said coldly. "Answer me now." The young man immediately stretched out his hand. An invisible force gathered around Chen, and Chen's body slowly floated up. A powerful pressure enveloped Chen's body. Everyone in the distance wanted to help, but they were stopped by Bumi. "Trust me, you'll only die if you go. Not only will your deaths be worthless, you'll also harm Chen." At this time, Bumi was much more nervous than the others. The young man with the cold expression grinned again. "I still have a lot of toys. I don't really care about you. That's why I'm going to kill you with one strike." The air began to swirl, forming a wind blade in the air that sliced toward Chen. A ripping sound could be heard in the air. Facing such an attack, Chen couldn't dodge at all. Poof! The wind blade brushed past Chen's arm. The young man's smile froze again. The words "two strikes" that were about to come out of his mouth were stopped. A dog came from the horizon, and beside the dog was a cat. A face appeared on a tree not too far away. On top of a tall mountain peak, a figure could be faintly seen. A beautiful woman's head popped out from a small stream. They all looked forward, at the young man in white, or rather at Chen next to him. At this moment, their expressions changed. A white-furred mouse suddenly crawled out from the ground. It first shouted the cat and dog in a low voice, "What are you looking at? Do you want to die?" Then it looked around. "Do you all want to die? Why aren't you running away? What are you all thinking? Who are you?" Chapter 46-79. Everyone was looking in front of them, either shocked or nervous. Chen was trapped by an invisible force, and there was a bloody wound on his shoulder. The young man who had the power of law looked at Chen for the first time. "Who are you?" Ever since he gained sentience, he was omnipotent, and no one dared to provoke him. Take Dan Xiang, for example. Even if the Gaduan king came, she might not be afraid. But in front of him, Dan Xiang could only be eaten away, bit by bit, until she lost the sea of flowers and died. The last time he dealt with a group of rats was a reflection of his daily routine. But today this human didn't die. Looking at the human's motionless body, it was obvious that he was completely trapped. The young man in white muttered in his heart, "Is this just an accident?" He said again, "I'll kill you with one slash." The air condensed into a wind blade and slashed at Chen again. With a puff, another wound appeared, but it wasn't a severed arm. Severed arm! The young man in white's pupils shrank, and he shouted again. This time he raised his voice, which meant that he had greater authority. Puff! The blade appeared again, but it didn't cut off Chen's arm. "What's going on?" The monk and the others were anxious. Chen obviously had no strength to resist. The devil ape was ready to rush forward with its stone staff. "Trust me, don't be rash. You'll die if you go." Bumi hurriedly said, "He can't kill Chen yet, but he can easily kill you." and it won't take much effort. All he has to do is say, "Kill with one slash." Then what do? Do we have to watch Zichen be tortured to death? The devil ape was anxious. Wait, maybe there's a turning point. No one saw where the turning point was. In front of the strange young man, Zichen couldn't resist at all. Even if he couldn't be killed one slash at a time, he would die eventually. In fact, the nervous crowd didn't know what this scene meant to the young man in white. The onlookers knew that even after the white-furred rat's warning, they still didn't retreat, because this meant that the sky might collapse. The young man in white was enraged. The aura around him began to surge, and an even more complicated and grand formation appeared beneath his feet. Countless rays of light flowed around him, containing different auras. This was the first time he had released his aura. At this moment, the others finally understood who the white-clothed youth was. Different kinds of energy swirled around him, and only the ruler of the world could do this. However, for some reason, this ruler's cultivation level was somewhat low. He was only in the speech realm. "I'm the god of this place. I want you dead," the young man shouted. His words were like the law. Countless power of rules gathered around him, and the rules of heaven and earth began to tremble. It was as if the great Tao had descended, bringing with it an absolute pressure that obliterated Chen's vitality. This was the true power of an overlord, borrowing the power of heaven and earth to kill. As long as one was in this world, one had to abide by the rules of this place. Chen was still trapped in the air, blood gushing out from his wounds. It looked like he was about to die under the nomological Tao. A sudden change occurred. The blue-white flower in front of Su Mengyao flew forward and landed on the ground. It immediately took root, and then countless flowers grew. It was as if a sea of flowers had spread out from under Chen's feet. The wooden sword in front of Wang Xian also flew to Chen's side, forming a huge forest outside the sea of flowers. The stone rod in the devil ape's hand and the water-repelling pearl that Yi Qian had previously obtained flew into the sky, turning into a mountain peak and a lake. The rules that descended here were resisted by these four things and could not descend. Or it could be said that these four things had isolated a space, blocking all the laws outside. The suppression of the rules did not appear, and the power that enveloped Zichen also disappeared because of the isolation here. Zichen landed on the ground, crushing some small flowers. There was a look of shock on the white-clothed youth's face. He looked at the things around him. "No wonder you all became so weak. It turns out that you took out the core item." Su Mengyao and the others were stunned. They did not expect the opportunity that they had obtained back then to have such a wonderful use. Then they reacted and understood something. Chen, who had landed on the ground, raised his head and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He also took a look at the domain formed by the four things. Many images flashed through his mind. Perhaps it was an opportunity, or perhaps it was a coincidence. Everyone had gained something. However, it should not be a coincidence that Bumi had brought him to this place and met the youth. Perhaps this was a trap, and he had been led into it step by step. But it did not matter. He looked at the white-clothed youth. "You had something to rely on previously. Now, shall we spar again?" "Good, very good. Although I don't know what's going on with you, human. Since you can temporarily block my connection with the rules in this space, you can be considered a character." The white-clothed youth said, coldly, just as well, "I'll kill you today and extinguish their hope forever. Die." The white-clothed youth waved his hand and slashed in the air. Without the law of words, wind blades still condensed in front of Zichen. However, this time, without the protection of the rules, the wind blades appeared and were ineffective against him. With a flash of his body, Zichen avoided the wind blades and rushed toward the white-clothed youth. The white-clothed youth's pupils shrank. Countless rays of light appeared around his body like tentacles, entangling Zichen. Even without his special ability, the youth still had the strength of the speech realm. Obviously, he could not be underestimated. Zi-Chun tapped his foot, and several cracks spread out from under his feet. The force of the rebound caused his body to fly into the air for a short time, passing through those tentacles. The tentacles fell in the distance, and like arrows, shot through the ground. Zi-Chen, who had landed, threw a punch. This punch was shining with light and contained a powerful force. The youth laughed sarcastically. A ray of light appeared in front of him, and the light turned into a shield. The fist landed on the shield with a rumbling sound. The force of the rebound caused Zi-Chen to retreat. The white-clothed youth said sarcastically, "You can't even break through my shield. How can you be my opponent?" He looked up at the things around him again and said to those behind the scenes, "This time you've miscalculated. After I kill him, it's time to kill you. And the Rat Clan. Today you'll be extinct." His eyes were cold and filled with boundless killing intent. Everyone related to this must die. These words were clearly spread out, and everyone's expression changed. "Are you done showing off?" "What?" I said. "Are you done showing off?" Zi-Chen crossed his hands and cracked his fingers. "If you're done showing off, then I'm going to get serious. As the #1 person in the Saint Spirit realm, even if I'm in a different world, I'm definitely not someone a guy like you can bully." "Are you crazy?" The white-clothed youth said. "You can't even break through my shield, and you still dare to boast." "Is that so? Then let's try again." Zi-Chen's figure flashed and disappeared from the spot as if he had teleported. In the next moment, he was in front of the white-clothed youth. It was still a punch. All of his power was restrained, and his aura was incomparably heavy. The youth snorted coldly, and the defensive light lit up again. There was a loud bang. Chapter 4680. Previously, Zi-Chen did not have the power to fight back because the white-clothed youth's method had the ability to cheat. He had been suppressed because this was caused by the rules. Regarding this feeling, the ruler of the Tianwu world had the most right to speak. It was already a miracle that he did not die. But now, without the suppression of the rules, the other party was just a realm of speech. Even if it was a slightly stronger realm of speech, it was still a realm of speech after all. Since Zi-Chen's reputation had gradually risen, he had been fighting above his level, so he did not care about this realm of speech that was slightly higher than him. Because he was Zi-Chen, the Zi-Chen who had the power of thunder of the Purple Soul Chin technique. After the first simple test, Zi-Chan really used his full strength. He broke the defense with one punch. The second punch followed. As the brilliance around his body circulated, the Chun technique provided him with sufficient strength. On the fist, lightning flashed. This was the power of thunder, and it exploded on the youth's body. With a boom, the youth's figure retreated. Zi-Chen followed again and attacked again. The power was not heavy, but it made the youth unable to control his body's center of gravity, and he kept retreating. Zi-Chen appeared in all directions beside the youth, and various attacks fell. This was the fighting technique. In this world, even if all the Thunder Clan's techniques could not be used, the fighting technique was not a technique. It was a technique that stimulated the physical body, and it could still be used. The battle did not end. Punch after punch fell, accompanied by occasional purple light that entered the youth's sea of consciousness. The purple soul was affecting the youth's mind. The youth kept retreating, no longer as calm as before. When the last punch fell, the youth's body flew out, and he coughed up blood after landing. Everyone watching the battle, secretly, heaved a sigh of relief. This time it was really dangerous. Fortunately, Zi-Chen had gained the upper hand, which was naturally a good thing for everyone. Zi-Chen looked at the youth on the ground with a calm expression, and the power in his body quietly surged. "Do you really think that's all I have?" The youth wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked coldly at Zi-Chen. "Then you underestimate me too much." transform the great Tao of heaven and earth. Countless rays of light flowed out of the youth's body and circulated around him at high speed. The young man's body gradually dissipated and finally disappeared completely. The light of power then scattered, turning into small snakes. The small snakes were colorful and had different auras. They spread out and stared at Zichen. Sensing the aura in front of him, Zichen's expression changed slightly. The aura of the little snakes was completely different, and he could no longer sense the presence of the young man. Could it be that this was how the young man had appeared? Was he a combination of these little snakes? Zichen took a few steps back and distanced himself from the little snakes. They were not simple little snakes. Each of them represented a kind of power. Among them, the most common and powerful ones were the 5 elements of metal: wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as the sun, moon, star, and thunder. Each of them was equivalent to a rule. However, at this moment, due to the suppression of the 4 weapons, they were only manifestations of power, unable to merge with the rules of this world. Otherwise, Zichen would have to face the rules of this strange world. Even so, Zichen still felt the pressure. He stepped back again. His expression was guarded. Life or death depends on this. The white-furred mouse, who had not left, also became extremely nervous. Without the help of the rules, the young man in white's means were limited. Perhaps this was his last resort. As long as Zichen could withstand it and break it, victory would be in front of him. "Let's see what you've got." The young man in white's voice sounded, but it was impossible to tell which little snake it was. A thunder snake flew towards Zichen. Lightning flashed, and Zichen could see the sharp teeth in the other party's mouth. Zichen struck out with his palm, fighting the thunder with thunder. With a bang, the thunder snake's body exploded, and the power of thunder spread out. Zichen's hair flew, and his clothes flapped. The thunder snake was not powerful, but it was not weak either. Zichen sensed the front and found that after the thunder snake dissipated, it did not reappear. In his heart, he understood the young man's means. "How is it?" The young man's voice sounded again, but it was still impossible to pinpoint the exact direction. Zichen said, "There's still a chance to win. Since I can remember, you're the only enemy that is so difficult to kill. In order to show my respect to you, I will beat you half to death." The little snakes stared coldly at Zichen. The young man in white's voice came from an unknown place. "Those who are worried about you are your companions, right? I will kill all the men. As for the women, I will keep them and put them together with Dan Xiang and slowly enjoy them. Don't worry, I will let you live and witness this scene with your own eyes." Zichen took a deep breath and said, "Since you have said so, I already understand your determination. Don't worry, I will fulfill your wish." In Zichen's perception, there was another little snake in front of him. It was the thunder snake that he had scattered before. Zichen's mouth revealed a hint of sarcasm. "You are quite clever." Die. The thunder snake's reappearance was equivalent to the rules being completed. Those little snakes immediately flew towards Zichen. Like a different world's rules, they attacked Zichen. Zichen retreated while the little snakes advanced. Some of them had the speed rules and had already arrived in front of Zichen. 1. An energy barrier lit up and protected Zichen. "You will die faster this way." The young man's voice was cold. The little snakes surrounded Zichen and began to gnaw at his protection. As far as the eye could see, Zichen was nowhere to be seen. There were only different little snakes. Even without the rules, I can still imitate the rules and attack. You are just an outsider. How can you resist the rules? Moreover, you are only in the formation realm. The young man was determined to win. Everyone outside the arena became nervous. However, no one could help. Zichen could only rely on himself in this battle. Whether he lived or died, it would depend on Zichen's ability. Countless petals danced around Zi-Chin. Unfortunately, Zi-Chan was not a flower fairy and could not use this power. The petals were swept away by the force and left the flower. The mountain in the sky began to shake, and countless ripples appeared on the lake. The temporary space that was suppressing the young man was about to collapse. Once the space collapsed, Zi-Chan would die without a doubt, and so would the others. Everyone became even more nervous and held their breaths. The white-furred rat trembled and said, "Don't die, or I'll be finished." Once Zi-Chan died, the flaming rat lineage would disappear forever. At this moment, a cracking sound came from the forest. A tree branch suddenly broke. The broken branches did not fall to the ground. Instead, they floated there as if there was a mysterious force guiding them. In the next moment, purple light lit up on these branches. Swoosh! One of the tree branches moved like an arrow and shot forward. Swoosh! Swoosh! More branches moved, whistling through the air as they flew towards the battlefield. When they were about to approach, the branches had more lightning on them, shining abnormally. The little snakes that were devouring Zi-Chen's power seemed to have sensed something. Some of them turned around to check the abnormality. The tree branches approached with a piercing sound, attacking the small snakes indiscriminately. Bang! 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 One after another, the little snakes were stabbed and exploded. There were many little snakes, but there were even more branches. Sounds like firecrackers rang out continuously. Chapter 4681. With the spell broken, the white-clothed youth fell to the ground, his body covered in blood. Zi-Chen's face was pale. That move just now consumed a lot of his energy, but fortunately he managed to break the opponent's spell. The youth stood up. His expression was extremely ugly, and his anger was difficult to quell. He looked into the distance and coldly said, "You all really have guts," actually daring to help him. He thought that it was an outsider who had helped him. He thought that Zi-Chen would not be able to break through his spell. Zi-Chen sneered, "Is this all you got? You're not as good as him, so you're just looking for an excuse?" As soon as he said that, Zi-Chen rushed forward and hit the youth with his palm. The youth blocked the attack and slid back. Zi-Chen continued to move forward and attacked with the same close-range combat technique. Banging sounds were heard continuously. Under this combination of close-range combat techniques, the blood-stained youth couldn't resist at all. He could only retreat. Zi-Chen was still calm and used one move after another. It seemed that the situation was hopeless. The spectators seemed to see the dawn of victory. "Looks like we made the right bet." Everyone avoided this disaster. The white-furred mouse, who had been extremely nervous, could finally relax. Bumi, who was standing next to the monk, also said, "All right, the battle is about to end. Everyone is happy. What's going on?" The demonic ape asked. Bumi shook his head. "I don't know the details. You can ask the ancestor." "I think the ancestor should." He suddenly stopped here. Something happened in front of him. It was the white-clothed youth who had been passively taking a beating. A flash of light appeared next to him. Zi-Chen changed from attacking to defending to retreating very quickly. Several meters away, Zi-Chen looked down at his abdomen. There was a deep wound there. The youth was smiling, revealing his bloody teeth. His smile was cold. "You're still alive? Looks like you're more alert than I thought." The youth held a short sword in his hand. The blade was extremely thin and looked simple, but Zi-Chen had already seen its sharpness. Zi-Chen thought that his body wasn't weak, but it couldn't withstand a single blow from this sword. The young man had been patiently waiting for this attack, but unfortunately it didn't succeed. "Since you've dodged my attack, I'll show you my true strength." Rays of light flowed out from the young man's palm and gathered towards the short sword. As the countless rays of light lingered, the blade of the short sword became misty. Chi-chi sounds rang out. That was the sound of the aura overflowing from the sword, cutting through the air. under Purple Soul's perception. The short sword seemed to have merged with the surrounding space. It appeared in his field of vision, but it disappeared from his perception. At the same time, a strong sense of danger emerged in Zi Chen's heart. He knew that the dagger was threatening his life. 99 streams of energy circulated, but they were much dimmer than before. Zi Chen had consumed a lot of energy from the battle. Zi Chen didn't dare to be careless. He took a deep breath and looked coldly at the young man. It was a matter of life and death. Die! The young man rushed forward, his eyes cold. The aura of the short sword in his hand became stronger, and in his perception, the short sword seemed to have disappeared. The young man stabbed out with his sword, and Zi Chen dodged to the side. His palm hit the young man squarely. His other palm hit out like lightning, knocking the weapon out of the young man's hand. The two palms were executed smoothly, as if they had practiced countless times. One palm hit the young man, and the other hit the weapon out of his hand. Then, Zi Chen immediately moved forward, still using his fighting skills. The young man kept retreating, as if the situation was the same as before. The young man, who kept retreating, suddenly laughed. After taking Zi Chen's palm, he said goodbye. Zi Chen had a bad feeling and instinctively dodged. With a puff, the short sword that had sent Zi Chen flying previously pierced his back and flew out of his chest. Zi Chen's body trembled, and then he stood there motionless. The surging light of energy was quickly dissipating. No! Su Mengyao exclaimed and was about to rush forward. The others couldn't stay calm and rushed toward Zi Chen. Bumi wanted to stop everyone, but he knew that he couldn't because Zi Chen had suffered a fatal injury. At this moment, a white-furred rat descended from the sky. It was the head realm cultivator. Don't be rash. Let's wait and see. Zi Chen is about to die. How can we wait and see? Monk was so angry that he wanted to curse. At this moment, our lives are tied to Zi Chen's. If Zi Chen dies, no one will be able to survive. What you can do now is cheer for Zi Chen, the white-furred rat said in a deep voice. He's about to die. How can we cheer for him? Everyone was furious. Right now, the laws of heaven and earth are in a state of isolation. Although Zi Chen has suffered a fatal injury, his vitality hasn't completely dissipated. As long as Zi Chen doesn't collapse, there's a chance for things to turn around. Hearing the white-furred rat's words, everyone realized that Zi Chen, who had suffered a fatal blow, hadn't collapsed. He was still alive. Perhaps it was as the white-furred rat had said. In that sealed space, the speed of leveling up was slower. The short sword flew back into the white-robed youth's hand. He grabbed the short sword again and looked at Zi Chen mockingly. How do you feel now? Sensing the loss of his life, Zi Chen slowly stretched out his hand and said the word die with difficulty. The youth laughed proudly. That's right. You're going to die soon. Ha! The laughter suddenly stopped. A surge of energy suddenly surged out of the youth's body. This energy forcefully destroyed the youth's vitality and destroyed his soul. The youth spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood was accompanied by fragments of his internal organs. The youth fell to the ground. The reversal of the battle caused everyone to be stunned. They didn't understand what was going on. The young man clearly had the upper hand, so why did he fall? It was Zi Chen's previous attack. There should be waves of inner strength that entered his body and exploded at the last moment. The white-furred rat said, "If that's the case, first," laughter interrupted the white-furred rat's words. The white-robed youth, who had fallen to the ground, stood up again. "You're not dead?" Zi Chen's expression changed. The white-robed youth said, sarcastically, "You're not dead even after suffering such serious injuries. How can I die? What a pity. If I had suffered such injuries in the outside world, I would definitely have died. But the laws of this space are isolated. When I helped you survive, it also helped me." the white-robed youth picked up the short sword. So, the one who's going to die in the end is actually still you. The youth rushed forward again. This time, he was confident that he could kill Zichin. Feeling his life slipping away, Zichin sighed. Then he reached out his hand and took out something. It was a thunder seed. The thunder tree had given him a lot of them. Zichin had also used a lot of them. In the end, he was reluctant to use the remaining 3. Now that death was approaching, he wouldn't have a chance to use it. The thunder seed took root, sprouted, and grew. In an instant, it turned into a towering tree. A powerful aura surged out and sent Zichin, who was nearby, flying away. Zichin flew through the sea of flowers and smashed into the forest. Looking ahead, the thunder tree was like a demon attacking the youth. The branches with thunder extended like spears and shot towards the youth. The youth tried his best to resist, but there were too many branches. He was seriously injured and could barely resist. Sure enough, it can attack. Zichen's life was still slipping away, but looking at the scene in front of him, he was confident that he would die after the youth. Such an unforeseen event shocked everyone. They looked at the lightning tree that suddenly appeared and continuously attacked the white-robed young man. Puff! A branch pierced through the youth's shoulder armor, leaving a hole in his white robe. The youth was hit and staggered back a few steps. Just then, a branch moved forward quickly and wrapped around the youth's feet like a snake. It kept moving upward, trying to trap the youth. Seeing that the situation was bad, the youth immediately scattered and turned into a large snake. The thunder tree didn't need anyone to command it. It seemed to have a strong battle awareness. Just as the youth was trying to escape, countless branches turned into spears and rained down. One by one, the small snakes exploded and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The white-robed youth was covered in blood and fell to the ground, dying. The branches extended again and wrapped around the youth. Then the youth was lifted up, like a soldier holding a spear. Lei Shu attacked again in the next moment. The youth's white robe had more than a dozen holes. The white-robed youth was suspended in the air with branches sticking out of his body. The youth looked at the thunder tree in front of him and said, "What is this thing?" Zichin, who was barely standing, said, "It's to save your life." The youth looked ahead. The sea of flowers was a mess, and the forest was destroyed beyond recognition. He looked up at the sky. There were mountains and lakes. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. "I was tricked by you." Finally, he stared at Zichin. Zichin couldn't hold on anymore and fell to the ground. The youth suddenly roared, I don't want to. His body started to dissipate. This time, he didn't use any technique. His life was coming to an end. After his body completely dissipated, a bright white light appeared in this space. Boom! This isolated space also collapsed. Everyone in the distance was still in a daze. They didn't expect things to take such a turn. They also didn't expect the battle to end so quickly. The white-robed youth was dead. But what about Zichin? What was his situation? After all, the sealed space disappeared and the laws of heaven and earth returned. Zichin, who had already suffered a fatal blow, might die instantly under the laws. Everyone immediately rushed forward and rushed toward Zichin. This time, neither the white-haired rat nor Bumi stopped them. P.S. The snow damaged the circuit. It took a whole day to repair it. This is what I wrote on my phone. If you call back tomorrow, I will edit it again. Chapter 4682. Everyone in the distance was in a daze. They didn't expect the battle to end so quickly. After all, they were still worried about Zichen's life. The next moment, the battle situation changed. The boy in white was dead, but what about Zichin? What was his situation? The sealed space disappeared, and the laws of heaven and earth descended again, enveloping this place. Zichin, who had suffered a fatal blow, would die immediately under the laws? Everyone immediately rushed forward, rushing toward Zichin. This time, neither the white-haired rat nor Bummy stopped them because there was no need. Faint Fragrance and the others didn't leave before, and now that the battle was over, they still didn't leave, but waited. Zichen's situation wasn't good, and he was even in a state of suspended animation. Su Mengyao and the others approached, and after seeing Zichen's current state, they began to wipe their tears, and some even shouted for him to wake up. At this moment, the white light that had been hovering here since the boy's death suddenly swept past everyone and entered Zichen's body. Not good. Seeing this scene, Tyrant's expression changed abruptly. Subconsciously, he wanted to slap Zichen, who was lying on the ground, to shake out the white light that had entered his body. Stop, that's the source of the laws. Faint Fragrance arrived in time and stopped Tyrant. The white light entered Zichen's body, and Zichen's originally lost vitality began to recover. Zichen, who was in a state of suspended animation, regained his vitality. Everyone who was crying was pleasantly surprised. Zichen's body shone with a mysterious white light, and his originally almost imperceptible breathing gradually became stable, as if he was sleeping. His original injuries were also recovering. This is a good thing for Zichen. That white light might bring him an unexpected harvest. Faint Fragrance looked at everyone and said, "The lingering white light gradually converged, and it was unknown if it had merged with Zichen. The light of energy between heaven and earth suddenly converged toward Zichen. This was the power of vitality, and with the replenishment of this vitality, it would be difficult for Zichen to die even if he wanted to." Everyone laughed through their tears and began to cheer. Tree and the others finally felt relieved. Things were developing in a good direction. Judging from the current situation, it was even better than expected. Now that the young man was dead, they were no longer a threat. At the same time, Gaduin's plan was ruined. While everyone was cheering, the monk quietly retreated. When no one was paying attention, he picked up the short sword and hid it. After that, he pretended as if nothing had happened and looked around for traces of battle. The 4 weapons that had sealed the space earlier returned to their respective hands after they collapsed. Their luster had dimmed a little, but their quality was not damaged. When Tyrant returned to the group, there was a hint of delight in his eyes. He had already obtained the short sword. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly surged out from Zichen's body. The surrounding power of heaven and earth gathered towards Zichen once again. This time it wasn't just the life force, but also all sorts of powers. If one took a closer look, this power was exactly the same as the power of the young man's Tao actualization. This energy flowed into Zichen's body, and the unconscious Zichen released his aura. This was an aura that surpassed the formation realm. A huge light array appeared under Zichen's feet. The 99 powers that were originally surrounding his body were all withdrawn. The speech realm. Zichen actually broke through at this moment. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. Tyrant muttered, "That works too." He scratched his head and muttered again, "That's good too. At least he got some benefits. Everyone is doing well." After the light on Zichen's body disappeared, everyone noticed that a white robe had appeared on Zichen's body. This robe was bright and new, and it fit Zichen perfectly. At first glance, one would think that the white-robed young man had come back to life. What's going on? Tyrant strode forward from behind and stared at Zichen carefully. The devil ape held a long staff and pointed it at Zichen. The others were also on guard. Was this person really Zichen? Zichen's consciousness was blurry. He vaguely sensed a summoning force calling to his soul and guiding him in a certain direction. However, in Zichen's subconscious, he did not want to go there. That summoning force seemed to be unusual, and Zichen was gradually unable to resist. Just as he was about to reach that mysterious place, a white light suddenly descended from the sky. Zichen felt a surge of vitality enter his body, and that place was getting farther and farther away from him. The summoning force that he could not resist had disappeared at some point. After the life force, even more heaven and earth power entered his body and became a part of it. Zi-Chen's consciousness began to recover, and he opened his eyes. At first glance, he saw everyone's wary eyes, and several weapons were pointed at him as if they were facing a great enemy. "What is this?" Zi-Chen's eyes were filled with confusion. "Who are you?" the devil ape asked. The others were extremely nervous, worried that Zi-Chen was not Zi-Chen. "Don't make trouble." Zi-Chen got up and looked around. What happened? It was still Zi-Chen's voice, which made everyone feel a little relieved. However, no one could guarantee that it was not that dangerous guy who did it on purpose. "You don't know what happened, so stop pretending," the monk said indifferently. "Quickly show yourself, and I will spare your life." Zi-Chen did not know what the monk was up to. "He is Zi-Chen. If it was not for Zi-Chen, we would not have survived," Pale Fragrance said. Zi-Chen did not understand what Pale Fragrance meant, but when he lowered his head, he realized that he was wearing a white robe. He seemed to understand the source of everyone's vigilance, and asked doubtfully, "What's going on?" He looked at Pale Fragrance. At this moment, only she could explain this. "Carefully sense your body and see if there is anything different." Pale Fragrance did not answer, but asked instead. Zi-Chen closed his eyes and began to sense the changes in his body. The first was his realm. He said in surprise, "I broke through." Pale Fragrance said, "It's not just this change." Zi-Chen continued to sense, and soon found something strange. After trying to sense these abnormalities, his face revealed a look of shock. "How is this possible?" Zi-Chen cried out in surprise. "You killed him, so naturally, you can get everything from him." Pale Fragrance smiled and said, "Congratulations. From now on, you are the guardian of this place." The others understood Pale Fragrance's meaning, and they all stared at Zi-Chen in disbelief. The monk asked anxiously, "So, you can already control the rules here? You can use the rules to fight?" Zi-Chen looked at the monk and said jokingly, "I don't know if I can use the rules to fight, but I know one thing." "What?" the monk asked. "Take back what belongs to me." Zi-Chen stretched out his hand, and a light flashed in his palm. The short sword hidden behind the monk immediately flew towards Zi-Chen. "This is mine." When the monk saw the short sword, he became anxious and wanted to block the short sword's path. However, the short sword suddenly disappeared and returned to Zi-Chen's hand. "You don't worry about it. This isn't something you can take." This was the weapon that the white-clothed young man refined. It used a part of the rules here and could be considered a natal item. When Zi-Chen noticed the abnormality in his body, he also sensed the short sword's existence. The monk muttered a few words, and even though he was unwilling, he could only accept his fate. The white-furred mouse and Bumi walked over. The latter was shocked, as if he didn't expect Zi-Chen to be able to reach this step. The former smiled and said, "Congratulations, congratulations." Zi-Chen glanced at the white-furred mouse and didn't immediately pursue the matter. Even if he knew that this was a trap, he first cupped his fists in 3 directions, and the 3 existences left. Pale Fragrance nodded at Zi-Chen and disappeared. In Zi-Chen's perception, Pale Fragrance appeared in the sea of flowers. After this incident, the sea of flowers had become riddled with holes. It would probably take a long time to restore it to its former state. Zi-Chen could completely sense that the key reason for this scene was that the sea of flowers was missing its core. It should be the flower that Su Mengyao obtained. Fortunately, the threat was now resolved. After killing the white-clothed young man, Zi-Chen obtained the young man's ability and naturally mastered the method to devour the sea of flowers. Not only the sea of flowers, but also the forest, the mountain, and the lake. However, he obviously wouldn't do that. Just as Zi-Chen was slightly distracted, suddenly, there was an abnormality beside Zi-Chen. It was Su Mengyao. She broke through from the array realm to the speech realm without any warning. One had to know that she had been stuck at this bottleneck for a long time. During this period, everyone had thought of many methods to break through, but none of them had been able to. Unexpectedly, after Zi Chen's breakthrough, Su Mengyao also broke through. It's your breakthrough that triggered the rules of this place. The humans who stay here from now on shouldn't have any bottlenecks in the speech realm. The white-furred mouse gave such an answer. After it said that, the others immediately sensed their bottlenecks and found that they had indeed loosened a little. Zichen said with some surprise, "Because of me, everyone's bottlenecks no longer exist." "That's right." The white-furred mouse nodded and said, "Because you killed the Tao Protector and replaced his position. As you grow, the bottlenecks of you humans will also loosen. If you can reach the head realm, as long as the others are talented enough, I believe they can also reach it." Zi Chen didn't expect this to be the case. "Let's talk as we walk." "All right." Everyone began to turn back. Since everyone had the possibility of breaking through, it was relatively safe to stay in the periphery to break through. Besides, Zi Chen also had some doubts in his heart. On the way back, the white-furred mouse took the initiative to explain, "Actually, the reason why we saved you was because we received some instructions. Without these instructions, we wouldn't dare to act on our own. Geduin is the king here, and Gusong is equivalent to an existence below the king. We don't dare to go against him at all. Today's situation was facilitated by us. Because the instructions indicated that only you could complete it, we vowed to protect you with our lives, and then gave a certain opportunity to the people around you to suppress the Tao Protector at the critical moment." Chapter 46-83. The white-haired rat always mentioned the word command, which made Zichen very curious, so he asked where the command came from. The white-haired rat shook its head and said it can't say. It can't say, but it doesn't mean it doesn't know, which is very interesting. If he remembered correctly, there were also the leaders of the Speed Shadow Cat and the Sharp Blade Dog among the spectators. Zi Chin seemed to have guessed something. "You have to be careful next." The white-haired rat glanced at Zi Chen and said, "You killed the Protector and became the new Protector, so the same scene may happen again." Zichen said, "Do you think they can kill me?" "It's hard to say," the white-haired rat said, "because your identity is still human, so the powerful existences living here will hardly avoid it. No matter what, it's always right to be careful." After a pause, the white-haired rat said again, "After you killed the Protector, your conflict with this world is no longer limited to Gusong, but you have become Geduin." "Geduin King?" Zi Chen was surprised. "What grudge do I have with him?" Rumor has it that the Protector was created by Geduin King. He allowed the Protector to plunder and grow because he wanted to use the law of the Protector to leave. Now that the source of the law is in your hands, you can imagine. Hearing what the white-haired rat said, Zi Chen's face couldn't help but change. "So, won't Geduin King come out to find me in person?" The white-haired rat was happy when he heard it. It's not that exaggerated. He has a lot of powerhouses under him, so it's impossible for him to come out in person. If Geduin King really comes out, then you go to those 4 places to hide. Maybe you can survive. Zi Chin, of course, knew which 4 places it was, but he was puzzled. Even the Protector of the Yen state can restrain them. Can't Geduin King? That's not the same. You will slowly understand. Both sides returned to their original residence again. Bumi stayed to entertain everyone, and he was more attentive than before. The white-haired rat said goodbye and left. After leaving, he went to find the cat and dog. After seeing the white-haired rat, both were very excited. "Did you see that? This is a miracle," the white-furred rat said confidently. "And now, this is only the first miracle. Just wait and see. In the future, there will be countless miracles until we reach the final miracle." If it was before, they wouldn't have believed it. However, Zichen had killed the guardian, so the possibility of this happening was very high. The Speedy Cat asked, "What do we need to do next?" The white-haired rat shook his head and said, "I don't know. Let's take one step at a time and wait for new orders." "My lord, bad news." Gusong arrived outside the castle and anxiously shouted, "What happened? Why are you so flustered?" Gaduin King walked out of the castle. "My lord, the protector has been killed." Gusong's voice was filled with panic. Gaduin King had clearly instructed him to take care of the Tao protector, and now this existence was actually dead. Gudun's expression changed slightly. Dead. Who here could kill a Tao protector? Have other kings overstepped their boundaries? No, it's a human. Gusong said in fear and trepidation. That human is called Zichen. He killed the Tao protector. Not only that, but he also took away the Tao protector's power. Gusong told him everything he had found out. Gudun frowned at first, but his expression gradually calmed down. In the end, his expression became even more indifferent. It seems that our plan back then has borne fruit. Since the human can obtain the Tao protector's origin of laws, then our plan may also succeed. Gudun looked at the nervous Gusong. "This isn't your fault. Don't be so nervous. Even if you want to blame someone, it's those guys outside. It seems that if we don't teach them a lesson, they really won't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Gusong's hanging heart finally relaxed after hearing that he was innocent. He immediately asked, "My lord, do you want to go out personally?" Gudun waved his hand and said, "There's no hurry to kill them. Even if we go out and kill them now, it's meaningless." Gusong asked again, "Then about the matter of the Tao protector?" Gudun said, "Spread the news that if you kill the Tao protector, you can become the new Tao protector." Gusong's expression changed slightly. "If that's the case, I'm afraid there'll be chaos here. So be it. Anyway, everything here can't be taken away in the future." Gudun didn't seem to care. He quickly asked, "Have you found the murderer?" "Not yet." "Keep looking. Also, tell Dang Li and Koken to be careful. Don't go out alone for the time being. Once you find traces of the murderer, remember to inform me immediately." "Yes." Gudun watched Gudun enter the castle again, while Gusong collapsed on the ground. When he arrived, he was already prepared for the worst. He didn't expect that Gudun didn't blame him. It was equivalent to Gusong surviving a disaster. He turned around and walked away. Under his deliberate dissemination of the news of Zichen's new identity as a Tao protector gradually spread. Not only did all the animals in the Yen realm know about it, but those in the Head realm also knew everything. Even the human outsiders also knew about Zichen's new identity. A Tao protector, the origin of the natural order. When Mo Jingtian heard the news, his face was very gloomy. Why did Zichen get all these good things? Mo Izhen stood at the side, somewhat unhappy. Mod said, "The news said that if we can kill Zichen, then the identity of a Tao protector can be exchanged. Once we become a Tao protector, we can control the natural order of this world." Mo Yendan smiled bitterly. "But how can we kill him?" It said that we were able to break through to the Yen realm because Zi Chun became a Tao protector. I don't even need to think to know how difficult it is to kill such an existence. But how did Zichen succeed in the first place? Mod was somewhat unwilling to admit defeat. If Zichen can succeed, why can't we? Mo Izhen suddenly became spirited. Indeed, if Zichen can succeed, it's not necessarily impossible for us to succeed. As long as we find the right method, it's just a matter of replicating it again. Mo Izhen walked away. Mo Jingtian asked, "Where are you going?" I'm going to ask Zichen what method he used to succeed. Mo Yijin said without turning his head. Do you think he'll tell us? Mo Jingtian was very surprised. Of course Zichen won't, but others will. Mo Yijin smiled. I believe that in this world there are definitely many people who want to kill Zichen. As for the secret of Zichen's success, there must be someone who knows. Suddenly Mo Yijin stopped. He turned to look at Mo Jingtian. Perhaps the owner of that saber knows. There was a long black saber beside Mo Jingtian. Chapter 46-84. This saber was called Black Sky, and it was one of the opportunities they had obtained after coming here. The name was given by Mo Jingtian, and it overlapped with his own name. Mo Jingtian treasured this saber very much. The others also saw the saber. Mod and Mo Yan's expressions changed slightly. It was said that opportunities were obtained by the fated. This black saber came from a black mountain, and the one who was truly fated was Mo Yijin. After obtaining this opportunity, he gave the saber to Mo Jingtian. At that time, Mo Yijin had used this excuse. I'm not good at using sabers. Although this saber is extraordinary, it's equivalent to gathering dust in my hands. If you don't mind, please accept this saber and let it unleash its full power. Mo Jingtian had declined righteously, but in the end, Mo Yijin had made up his mind, and Mo Jingtian had no choice but to accept it. Mo Jingtian's eyes lit up as he thought of the mountain god who had given Mo Yijin the black saber. Let's go and take a look. He grabbed the black saber and signaled for everyone to follow. This group of dozens of people walked toward the Black Mountain. On the towering Black Mountain stood a black-robed man. After Mo Yijin and the others arrived, he took the initiative to appear. He glanced at everyone, and his gaze finally fell on the saber. The saber was not in the hands of the human he had thought highly of. Mo Yijin took a few steps forward and bowed. Greetings, sir. I have some questions to ask you. Speak. Sir, do you know the Guardian? Yes. Then have you heard of Zichen? I've only heard of him recently. Tell me why you're here. Mo Yijin bowed again. We want to deal with Zichen. I hope you can show us the way. The black-robed man shook his head. You don't have many fated items. It's impossible to succeed. Mo Yijin reacted quickly. Are the so-called fated items obtained here by chance? That's right. The black-robed man extended 4 fingers. Last time, Zichen was able to kill the Guardian because he used 4 fated items to seal the rules. If you want similar items, you need to find at least 4 of them. For everyone, this was indeed a clear path. Mo did not expect that the news would be so easily obtained. At this moment, the black-robed man continued, At the critical moment, I can lend you a hand. But before that, you must gather the 4 fated items. To put it bluntly, he was looking for an ally. Mo nodded. After saying goodbye and leaving, Mo worriedly said, You can kill Zichen like this? Mo shook her head. No one knows what the future holds, but this is at least a chance. That's right. Such opportunities are hard to come by. Mo Jingtian asked, Do you have a good plan? Mo and Mo Yandanzwa also looked at Mo trembling. Mo thought for a moment and said, Actually, the most important thing now isn't to find the fated item, but to let everyone break through to the speech realm as soon as possible. Only when one's cultivation level was high would one have a greater say when searching for the fated item. Even his words suddenly stopped, as if he was trying to keep them in suspense. Mo Jingtian was somewhat displeased and said, If you have something to say, just say it. Don't tell me there are outsiders here. Why are you hemming and hawing? Mo cupped her fists and said, It's not that I want to show off, but it's not appropriate. If we want to find the fated item, it will definitely involve some benefits. For example, if we succeed in killing Zichen, which of the 4 people with the fated item will become the guardian? If the benefits are not distributed properly, it might benefit others. So, instead of looking for the fated item, it's better to snatch it. A cold-killing intent flashed in Mo Yan's eyes. Once all the fated items are in our hands, there will naturally be no problem of distribution. So, I suggest that everyone break through to the speech realm first. As for the guardian and the fated item, we can talk about it after we break through. Perhaps during this period, there will be many people who will first find Zichen to spar with. This way, we can also understand Zichen's battle strength. What if they succeed? Mo Yen Danzwa asked subconsciously. Mo Yen smiled and said, "That would be great. It saves us the trouble of doing it." Once the news about Zichen spread, the flame rats brought the news back to the city. The others were filled with righteous indignation. The news was leaked too quickly. Zichen was relatively calm. Such a day would come sooner or later. It was just that those people wanted to kill him and snatch the origin of the laws. This was not easy. After all, with Zichen's battle strength, he had to rely on the lightning seed to kill the white-clothed youth. Bumi looked at the silent Zichen and said, "Sir, you still have to be careful. After all, the white-clothed youth died in your hands after being suppressed." Zichen understood Bumi's reminder. The situation of being suppressed last time might happen again in the future. "What about the head realm?" Zichen asked. "Will they also attack me?" Bumi shook his head and said, "I'm not too sure about this. They probably won't." As long as the head realm didn't attack, Zichen still had great confidence in dealing with those speech realm experts. "Is this place safe?" Zichen suddenly asked. "You shouldn't be able to find beasts. As for humans, it's hard to say. Beasts had their own territories and would restrict each other. On the other hand, humans didn't and could go anywhere. Well, those who haven't broken through, stay here. Those who have, come with me for a walk outside." After reaching the speech realm, Zichen had room for improvement. Naturally, he needed some inner cores to supplement this. Therefore, Zichen planned to go outside and kill some speech realm beasts. The first to break through were the 4 people who obtained the fate items. The others were still in the formation realm. Bumi took Zichen and the others and left to find speech realm beasts to fight. During this time, Bumi deliberately took the 5 people outside the territory of faint fragrance and the others to prevent accidents from happening. When the 5 of them fought against speech realm beasts, each of them had the ability to kill them alone. Zichen. One day, Zichen, who had just finished hunting, suddenly heard a loud shout. When he turned around, he saw a group of people appear in his field of vision. It was none other than Lei Zhenghongtian. It seems that enemies are destined to meet. Lei Zhenghongtian smiled coldly. "Since you've met me today, you'll die." Zichen looked at Lei Zhenghongtian. There were 8 people beside him. 4 of them were in the speech realm, while the rest were in the formation realm. Lei Zhenghongtian himself was in the formation realm. Zichen touched his chin and said, "You took the initiative to come forward and die. Interesting. No, you're already in the speech realm." Chapter 46, 85. Lei Zhenghongtian's reaction seemed to be a little slow. At this time, they were not far from Zichen. How could they run away? But they turned around and ran, without the slightest courage to fight. The demon ape was stunned, not knowing what the guy was doing. Zichen smiled. They were not far away, but he did not chase. Lei Zhenghongtian ran and looked back, shouting, "Run! Zichen is catching up." "What's the situation?" The demon ape frowned. "My lord, be careful," Bumi warned. Zichen smiled. "Don't worry about them. Where is the next Yen realm? My lord, please come with me." with countless fire rats as his eyes and ears. Zi-chan could easily know the specific location of the Yen realm and then go to kill it. Bumi deliberately led Zi-chan closer to the lake. During this time, the fire rats passed through the ground and followed Lei Zhang Hongtian. My lord, they didn't catch up. After running for a while, there was no one behind them. Lei Zhang Hongtian stopped, his face a little ugly. Were we exposed? The others shook their heads, indicating that they did not know. It shouldn't be. Lei Zhang Hongtian was puzzled. According to my understanding of Zi-chan, he should hate me to the bone. Now that I suddenly appeared, and there are so few of us, he should rush to deal with me. Could it be my acting is not good enough, and I didn't act out the feeling of panic? The others shook their heads again. Lei Zhang Hongtian's face changed. Could it be that your acting is not good enough and you were exposed? No, our acting is very good. We were never exposed. The others assured one after another. Well, in that case, let's go again. Lei Zhang Hongtian continued to chase in the direction of Zi-chan. This time, he did not immediately shout to attract attention. Instead, he got closer to Zi-chan, and Zi-chan was staring at them. Only then did they react and run away in panic. Are they King retarded? The demon ape saw this scene and could not help but curse. If the previous encounter could be said to be a coincidence, this time it was too fake. This is your enemy? Is that all he has? Zi-chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, when it comes to scheming, no one can beat him. The reason for today's situation should be that there is no one around him that he can use, and he himself is not good at acting, not to mention such a show that is obviously full of loopholes. Perhaps it's not that his acting isn't good, it's that the script he directed isn't good. Zi-chan glanced at Bumi and said, "Let's go a bit further and take them out in one go. Although this guy is not a threat, he is very disgusting. Killing him this time can be considered as revenge for those who died because of him." The few of them sped up their departure. Lei Zhang Hongtian saw that no one was chasing after them, so he had no choice but to continue forward. Just like that, it appeared 4 times in front of Zi-chan. By the 4th time, the distance between the two sides had gotten even closer. Before Lei Zhang Hongtian could make a panicked expression, the little blue and white flower in front of Su Mengyao flew out. They looked up and saw the little flower. He didn't know what happened next. The devil ape and Wang Xian are attacked from both sides. Zi-chan also came in front of one of the Yen state cultivators and took his life. "Ah, Zi-chan, it's you. Run." Lei Zhang Hongtian shouted exaggeratedly and turned around to escape. However, after turning around, he saw Zi-chan standing in front of him. As for his original companions, they had all fallen to the ground. You! Lei Zhang Hongtian looked at Zi-chan in disbelief. Zi-chan was still far away a moment ago. How did he suddenly appear in front of him? The next moment, Lei Zhang Hongtian understood. He looked at Su Mengyao, who was next to him. It was the flower that made him fall into a momentary illusion. T, it's you. Hey, you don't have to be in such a hurry to die. Let me ask you something. Which idiot gave you the idea? Zi-chan patted Lei Zhang Hongtian's shoulder. Don't even think about it. Lei Zhang Hongtian said stubbornly, I won't say it even if I die. Zi-chan smiled and said, if you don't say it, don't you think you'll lose out? Think about it. If that idiot came up with a stupid idea and killed you, and you were loyal enough to not betray him, what if he really succeeded and killed me, and when he obtained the origin of the laws, he scolded you for being a useless piece of trash? I wonder how you would feel in your heart. Lei Zhang Hongtian's expression was still cold, but his eyes began to change. I know you hate me to the core and want me dead. I also want to kill you, but I didn't die in your hands. Are you willing? I was killed by someone else, but the credit and benefits are also someone else's. You were just used as a chess piece. Are you willing? Asterisk, 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 a wooden sword. pierced Lei Zheng Hongtian's chest. Lei Zheng Hongtian's eyes widened as he looked at Zichen in disbelief. The wooden sword was pulled out, and Lei Zheng Hongtian fell. He said everything in just a few words. If he's not an idiot, then what is? Devil Ape said with some disdain. He thought that I said those words to let him live. I didn't expect him to die in the end. Zichen said nonchalantly. He didn't mind killing such a guy. Otherwise, it would be really disgusting to disgust people. Xin Xiaoyuan. Zichen's eyes flashed with a touch of coldness. When I was in the spiritual world, I didn't have much contact with the god race. I didn't expect that in this different world, the god race's monsters would pop out. Well, let's go meet him. Before dying, Lei Zheng Hongtian said everything, including that god race member called Xin Xiaoyuan. All of this was arranged by the other party. As for why Lei Zheng Hongtian obeyed him, in addition to the heavy losses he brought, another reason was because the other party saved Lei Zheng Hongtian. Lei Zheng Hongtian was certainly not a person who knew how to repay kindness. Unfortunately, the other party was too strong. In the absence of other people, Lei Zheng Hongtian had no choice but to repay kindness. The future heir of the dignified Holy Thunder clan, the Lei Zheng family, was so aggrieved. Perhaps this was the reason why he could speak so happily. Knowing the truth, Zichen decided to find the existence called Xin Xiaoyuan. Didn't the other party want to scheme against him? He would take the initiative to go up. As for the location of Xin Xiaoyuan, Zichen knew it through the flame rats at the first time. In a rocky beach, 3 people sat bored. The young man in the lead had a withered grass in his mouth. He was Xin Xiaoyuan. The 2 god race members beside him looked into the distance from time to time. They sat upright, seemingly bored, but in fact their bodies were in a state of alert, ready to attack at any time with their strongest posture. Around the rocky beach, there were some inconspicuous small holes, and from time to time, small beasts would run through. Xin Xiaoyuan spat out the withered grass in his hand. The withered grass was like an arrow shooting through a big stone. A rabbit behind the big stone had its head pierced. That idiot, why hasn't he come yet? He got up and walked towards the dead prey. Chapter 46:86. A flame rat quietly poked its head out and glanced at the rocky beach. It seemed to be looking for food and was very vigilant. Not far away, there was a heavy and oppressive aura. It turned its head and saw that they were all humans. It was so scared that it quickly drilled into the ground. Zichen walked over from the distance, followed by Demon Ape and the others. Bumi stayed in the distance. He didn't go back to find help, but brought 4 people here. But in the words of this world, the 4 of them were fated to be here, and their combat strength was not weak at all. Shen Xiaoyuan's expression changed slightly as he stared ahead. The 2 next to him immediately stood up and stared at Zichen warily. A huge light array appeared under each of their feet. Clearly, they were 2 Yen realms. Xin Xiaoyuan waved his hand and said, "Don't be nervous, it's just 5 people." He said to Zichen in front of him, "Where's Lei Zheng Hongtian?" "He's dead," Zichen said. "Isn't that what you want?" Xin Xiaoyuan smiled. "That idiot, it's better that he's dead. He helped me do something. So, you don't care if that plan succeeds or not. You just want to lure me here, right?" Zichen looked at Shen Xiaoyuan. "That's right. Only a fool like Lei Zheng Hongtian would think that such a method would ensure his safety while also luring you over." It turned out that Shen Xiaoyuan's plan was not simple. He didn't care about Lei Zheng Hongtian's life or death at all. He only wanted Zichen to come. "Now that I'm here, what?" Zichen continued to walk forward. "Then you can stay here forever." Shen Xiaoyuan clapped his hands. Immediately, there was the sound of footsteps around the pile of rocks, followed by rising smoke and dust. One by one, the existences hidden in the dark appeared. In 3 directions around Zichen, the figures of the Protoss appeared. Zichen was not surprised by their appearance. Bumi had already told him about the deployment here. He glanced at the Protoss around him. Through rule perception, Zichen could see the realms of these people at a glance. He said with some surprise, "The number of Yen realms is as high as half. It seems that you've recruited a lot of elites." Xin Xiaoyuan said, "It's as though." The devil ape and the other 3 spread out, protecting Zichen in the middle. Zichen said helplessly, "I say, you don't have to do this. You're not my subordinates. You don't have to protect me like this." When the 4 of them heard this, they once again stood side by side, but they were also on guard against each other. Zichen continued, "But don't you think this is too abrupt? Wouldn't it be better if everyone advanced to the speech realm?" Shen Xiaoyuan gave Zichen a thumbs up and said, "You're right. That's what I thought before. It would be safer that way. But you, Zichen, are really too hateful. You have enemies everywhere you go. You can afford to delay, but I can't. Who knows if someone won't be able to hold themselves back and attack you in advance? If you really die in the hands of others and the origin of laws is obtained by others, who do you think I will cry to?" Zichen nodded and said, "In that case, it makes some sense, but you also have to bear a greater risk. Because if you can't kill me immediately, then others will hear the news and come to snatch your victory. I've already thought about the consequences, so we have to end this quickly." Shen Xiaoyuan waved his hand, and everyone immediately attacked Zichen. This was a siege tactic. Looking at them rushing forward, Zichen said, "You all know that I have the origin of laws. Then do you really know how to use it?" "After killing you, I will naturally know." Shen Xiaoyuan, who was standing in the distance, said, "You don't have to kill me, you will also know." The corner of Zichen's mouth was still smiling, but his eyes were gradually turning cold. Zichen stretched out his hands and made a gesture of gathering qi in his dantian. In the next moment, Zichen slapped out with both of his palms, causing ripples to surge out. "Shen Xiaoyuan, right? Today, I will let you see the true power of the origin of laws." As soon as his words fell, light flickered in Zichen's palms. In 3 directions in front, the space suddenly began to distort, as if an invisible barrier had appeared, blocking all the people rushing forward. An invisible barrier blocked everyone's path. Then Zichen reached out and grabbed, and a stunned formation realm cultivator was dragged up by an invisible force. Zichen's eyes flashed, and the thought of killing rose in his mind. A wind blade appeared out of thin air and swept across the opponent's body. The formation realm cultivator fell. The others were shocked, killing a formation realm cultivator invisibly. Is this the power of the origin of laws? See, it's that simple. Zichen smiled slightly. Are you trying to scare me? It's also that easy for me to kill a formation realm cultivator. Shen Xiaoyuan said coldly, Is that so? The smile on Zichen's face did not diminish, and several formation realm cultivators' bodies slowly rose uncontrollably. When the nearby people saw this, they all attacked, but it was useless. Then another wind blade appeared out of thin air and reaped the lives of these formation realm cultivators. Zichen's move undoubtedly stunned everyone. Xin Xiaoyuan shouted, Yen realm cultivators are attacking now. His strength is limited after all. A group of Yen realm cultivators immediately mobilized their strength to attack Zichen, and the law barrier that appeared earlier was still there, preventing them from advancing. Die. This time, Zichen attacked the Yen realm cultivators, still standing in place and using the power of laws to kill. They died with a single thought. The Yen realm cultivators fell one after another. Just as the battle broke out, a man appeared behind Zichen. His figure was relatively sturdy, and his face was full of whiskers as he walked towards the battlefield. Bumi, who was hiding underground, popped his head out and saw the man. So, it's a rat, I'll kill you later. The man glanced at Bumi and did not care. Bumi was frightened and burrowed into the ground again. But this time it was very anxious because the person who came was a head realm cultivator. Could it be that an existence of this level also had his eyes on the origin of laws? Originally, Bumi thought that it had already grasped all the clues of the enemy, and with Lord Zi Chen's means, it would not be difficult to deal with him. Unexpectedly, there was a head realm cultivator in the dark. This was troublesome. The other party had already appeared, and it was too late for Bumi to warn Zi Chen now. The man stood thousands of feet away, watching the battle ahead. Zi Chen was killing, and those Yen realm cultivators could not withstand a single blow from him. Is this the power of the origin of laws? Not bad. The man narrowed his eyes, and infinite killing intent surged. He stomped his feet, and the earth rumbled as if there was an earthquake. Huge cracks spread out in all directions, and smoke and dust filled the air. The man's figure soared into the sky, his entire body glowing like a meteor cutting through the sky, carrying a powerful aura as he flew towards Zichen. You're tuning in to the Thunderous YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.